What's going on, guys? You are on the sidelines with the sideline guys. I'm Chris, and I'm here with my guy.
Yes, sir. Derrick, what's going on?
What's going on, man? I just wanted to say this week it might be too much. Leave it up to the sideline guys. As soon as the NFL talk starts up, we gotta have a whole segment to talk about all the news that's going on.
Got to.
And then we got NBA stuff going on. MMA is at its peak, as you already know. As always, it's a damn year-round commitment. We always got something to talk about, man.
Everything's going on, man, and I love it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So why don't we just jump right into it? I mean,
man.
just like everything else, let's just throw it right into the fire.
Why not?
First of all, the most, if you ask me, shocking news thing come out of this week. How the hell is Aaron Rodgers going back to the Packers for that much money, just for the people at home? 4 years, $200 million. Kirk Cousins was jealous seeing that contract. That's how you know it's a big contract.
Bro, that's $50 million a year.
Yeah, that's insane. What is that, a quarter of your cap?
That's because that's also what I was wondering. How can you afford to pay anyone else? I don't even know. I'm happy for him, but if you're paying that kind of money, you better come away with the Super Bowl. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There needs to be a Super Bowl that comes out in the next 4 years for the Packers. Otherwise, that is.
And good luck doing that with the tax breathing down your neck.
I was about to say, does this even make sense to pay him that much?
I think the reason why it makes sense is the 4 years part of it. I think they could sort of back end it where a big part of that comes in year 3 and 4, and it sort of gives them that flexibility. Because I think right now, believe it or not, with everyone else on contract, now is their window. Like, it's not going to be 2 years from now. It's going to be right now.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it makes sense. As far as structure and pay wise, I feel like the league is headed in that direction. I'm pretty sure there's going to be bigger contracts than this, and this is the biggest one to date, really. But what do you think of that trend? Like, how sustainable is it?
It's very sustainable, I think. I mean, put it like this. We're moving into a time where technology, I think, is allowing more to come in for them. They're able to do more, so they're able to make more. Because I mean, what Patrick Mahomes got, was it $500 million? $500 million. I'm sorry. That was over a span of 10 years, I think, something like that. But it's still, to me, I thought when that one happened, that just made it. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It made it to where the trend was going to go that way anyway. Almost like baseball money.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
They still got more though.
They still got more. Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's very interesting. But it's good to get guys locked in early so that you can make different moves down the line, right? Like the pay scale is only going to go up. So I don't know how I feel about Rodgers. Like, I mean, for him, cool. I love it for him, but for the team, I don't know. It's still kind of, I don't know. Like, that's a lot of money.
But real quick, that's why I asked that question.
A lot.
Because let's be real, like, I don't think this shit is sustainable, and I think at some point we're gonna see that trend
over the league.
And the reason why I say that is because all the reasons we're talking about, you sort of handcuff your team once you're in that position. As the player, it makes sense. I think that, like I said, those contracts are only going to go up. But I think a trend to sort of take note of, I think for a long time, the big running back contract was almost plagued against, where it's like, you don't want to do that because the health, it's a big issue. I think you can kind of make a similar argument with the QB situation, and I think this leads in a little bit to the Russell Wilson situation, where of course they signed him up, they got him all locked in for a great amount of years, good amount of money, he's solid, and then eventually some dominoes don't fall in the place where they belong, and now we need a shakeup. And I think that's something to really take note on moving forward because, like I said, these contracts are only going to be going up. I'm wondering if we end up in a scenario where we're headed more towards the NBA, where we have shorter contracts with larger per year amounts.
Which we've seen that
Just
with Tom
because,
Brady.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I think, especially with someone like Aaron Rodgers at his stage of his career, it makes sense.
Mm.
But also, the reason why I just been thinking about why it's not sustainable because, for example, yeah, the precedent is there. People like Lamar Jackson, these people are gonna get paid.
I
Let's
was
make
gonna
no
ask you
bones
about
about it.
him. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the problem though, because if you get him in where he's overperforming on that rookie deal, and you're really able to bolster the roster around them because of that flexibility. I think that may be the new money ball, where you're all in sort of all these other key player positions, and then if you're able to catch the swing and do the right thing in the draft and get someone that can push you forward, I think that's something to watch out for future sort of Super Bowl contenders, because I feel like that's a trend that we may see continue where teams like, and I hate that I got to do it. I hate that I got to do it. But teams like the Eagles are positioning themselves to be in a spot where they could sign a lot of good people to an already almost playoff caliber roster. So I think long term, obviously, shout out to the players. That's what it's about. Get your damn money. Don't worry about any of the stuff we're talking about. But on the long term, sort of sport angle of it, I really don't think these contracts are sustainable for these organizations, man.
Well, I think it's mainly by position, right? Like Matt Stafford, I think I just read yesterday or today that he's supposed to be somewhere in the neighborhood of like a 40 million a year contract.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is like that's why I'm saying I think this is going to be a trend we see more so with like the positions. So you brought up running backs, right? We see that with running backs, especially a lot in recent history where they get paid, then all of a sudden they just have this dive, like it's like right at the moment that they get paid. I almost feel like for at least with that position, we're going to start seeing where teams start to offer, more money in short years so that by the time you get to that year 3, year 4 mark, you can have the ability to maneuver if you need to maneuver. So for example, Ezekiel Elliott, I forgot his numbers, but when he got that contract, it's literally just been downhill for him, right? Same thing with Le'Veon Bell, went downhill. Like, and I almost don't even know if it's really just their performance in terms of like not having the ability to play or coasting. Like that's one thing with some of these guys. I'm wondering, like, is that a thing where they're just kind of just like they got the money and just kind of just like, all right, let's coast throughout the year. McCaffrey, right? Like McCaffrey, he has not like done a coasting thing, but he's been injured. So I almost feel like it's a position thing. I think we're going to start seeing the quarterbacks continue to rise in terms of like their pay with the years, or do like what you said in terms of like the NBA, shorter contracts, more money, like Tom Brady did. But that's why I'm thinking it is going to be sustainable because it's more so like a position thing, and you're able to offset in other positions. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And I
So I don't
think
know.
this trend has been on its way already. I mean,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
what is it now? I think it's the fourth year in the Cousins deal. So now he's gonna be making
Mm-hmm.
like 42 this season or something like that, which
That's
is,
wild.
dude, Kirk Cousins, bro. That I know Minnesota fans' heart hurts when they hear that.
Shout
But
out to
that's
him
the
though.
thing. Yeah, shout out to him.
That's king,
And
man.
his agent, because his agent living good too. My shit about this though is like 100%. It's all for the players, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're here for. But at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day, when we look back at these contracts, it's way easier when the 4 years are up to
Mm-hmm.
say, damn, there's no way you could sort of amount to what you ended up getting paid,
Right.
even
Right.
in situations where there was success, there
Yeah.
was playoff runs,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why this situation is really weird to me, because obviously these guys are going to get paid. Like if it's
Mm-hmm.
not at the team they're in, it's going to be with another one. Like
Mm-hmm.
let's not make no mistakes about that.
Mm-hmm.
But just long term, I think it would be really cool if like a finance major did their dissertation on this,
Yeah. Yeah.
about how
Yeah.
that plays out, and how can you determine the contract's worth once it's all said and done, because
Mm-hmm.
um I'm pretty sure those big contracts on when compared to small contracts, the potential as far as what it can bring is just way
Mm-hmm.
higher on that smaller end. But
So, in terms of like Lamar Jackson, then, like,
mhm.
of course, we're going to be comparing him to Patrick Mahomes pretty much their entire careers, right? Do you see Lamar going the route of trying to negotiate, because he doesn't have an agent, right? Do you see him going into the try and make it to where he's going into the direction of Patrick Mahomes, that type of contract, or do you see it where he's looking to do the Tom Brady route, because he's not in a rush to sign right now,
Yep.
which I find very interesting. I don't like the strategy behind that. Do you
Mhm.
think he's just trying to get more? Like, how much more could he get?
I think the strategy is, and it makes sense, dude. Like if you're in this position in any, like in any player position in football,
Mm-hmm.
if you're in the spot to get paid, ball out as much as you can and get
Yeah.
that long contract,
Yeah.
because this is such a volatile league. Anything could happen in the interim. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's what makes sense for players. Get
Mm-hmm.
that long-term contract out of the way early, so that on the back end, yeah, you're going to make money, but that's where the bulk of the money you're going to make is, in
Right.
my
Right. Right.
opinion.
Right.
For most careers, Tom
Right.
Brady don't count. Not
Mm-hmm.
everyone is a Tom Brady, trust.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, ask
Yeah.
Peyton Manning, that boy was struggling when he won that second chip, struggling. So the
Yeah.
trend isn't is that that's not a normal thing for that money to go up. Usually it's going down.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes a lot of sense. I think he's going for a longer deal, like we
Mm-hmm.
talked about. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it only, like, people are so scared, teams especially, because this is all in the player side. If you
Yeah.
let them go
Yeah.
into free agency,
Yeah.
you're gonna pay the absolute maximum. And
Right.
and that's the problem.
Yeah.
And I think he's trying to do that. And I respect that, because
Yeah.
like I
Yeah. Yeah.
said, ultimately, what's that saying, you're only worth what you have the ability to negotiate. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's real. Like
Mm-hmm.
100%, get your money, do what you got to do. But we're talking about something a little different here. It isn't just
Yeah.
about whether or not they're able to get that money. It's about what that money does for you in turn as a manager.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's an interesting situation, something we should definitely keep our eye on moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think, as far as this specific contract, the Aaron Rodgers contract,
Mm.
I honestly, besides the money angle on the last two ends, um, I'm surprised that they were able to get him to come back, because I thought that
Too.
relationship was unfixable.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because I've seen a lot of shows, just body language experts
Mm-hmm.
talking about him
Mm-hmm.
walking off the field and what it
Mm-hmm.
means.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, this is what matters more than anything. So
Yeah. 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 I mean, and it seemed like it was almost a foregone conclusion that he was actually going to go to Denver, which a lot of people thought that was going to happen. I honestly didn't know what was going to happen.
me neither.
I wasn't making a prediction about that one. It did not look like he was going to go back to Green Bay though. It really
And
looked
if
like
I
that
made
was
a
the end of
bet,
it.
exactly, if I made a bet, it was that he's somewhere else, not back.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's why I
yeah,
was super surprised by that.
yeah. I mean, you get Devontae Adams. I think they got him on they got him on a tag, franchise tag, right?
Yep.
So like you said, the time is now, but I don't see Green Bay going all the way. Like this is what ends up happening with them every season, right? Like they have fire. You believe, you start to say that's going to happen, and then by the time the playoffs come, something ends up happening where they fall apart, and they don't make it to the promised land. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know like what to actually think about them in terms of actually making a Super Bowl. But when you're paying that type of money, again, you better make it. Like you better do whatever it takes to make that happen. And I don't know how.
Dude, the weirdest part about it though is whenever we talk about this, it's not a matter of you better be good. It's you better make
Yeah.
it to the Super Bowl. And that's because
Yeah.
they haven't been able to.
Yeah.
And they've been really historically great, like getting
Mm-hmm.
first seeds wrapped up early
Mm-hmm.
in the season too. Like
This year too.
exactly where it was pretty clear that they were going to be that number one seed, and they still don't find their way into the game.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's so many factors that lead into that. So it's hard to predict. But like you said, at the end of the day, the Super Bowl trips are what matters. Even if you're getting first round buys in the playoffs,
Yeah.
if you end up getting bounced in that first match against teams like the 49ers, people will not forget about that. And it ain't
At
the
all.
first time. It
At
ain't the
all.
first time. Yep.
Yeah. I don't I we'll see. Good luck to him. But I to me, it almost felt like this was the year. If they were going to do it, this was the year to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, there's, there's other teams in the conference that are coming and that are younger. You know, especially at the quarterback position. So you can't sleep on Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know.
Yeah, man. I
Do
don't
not
know
know.
either. And for his sake, I hope he does. Like, I hope he's able to get at least one more because
Should be
I
able to.
think exactly he should be able to. And on top of that, I think he's the kind of player where you can't really picture him, tied with Eli as far as their
Yeah.
stance long term. Like, you can't really
Yeah.
picture that. So,
Yeah.
um, just sort of living up to his greatness in that way is something you love to see. um a big theme when it comes to LeBron, which we'll be talking about that later, just that
Mm-hmm.
idea of what it means to live up to your greatness.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
greatness measured at the end of
Yeah.
the day?
Yeah.
But as surefire Hall of Famer, and if you could get
Oh, for
him,
sure.
you could get him on a nice 4-year contract. I think you're good to go. So interested to
Gotcha.
see how that plays out.
Yeah, man. Yeah. What do you think about Denver?
Yeah, man. No, I thought you were gonna do the whole transition wizard thing on me
I
and
I
go
could
straight. I was
I
waiting. I was
I
waiting.
I wanted to, but I don't know. I didn't know how to transition.
You didn't know if we was done yet.
I
I
didn't know.
respect it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
respect
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah, man. So first of all, let's just lay the details out there.
Yeah.
From what I understand, it's 2 first rounders and
Mm,
3 second rounders, which is a lot more than people think. A lot more than
yes.
people think.
Yes.
And then excuse me for not knowing the defensive end's name. This is I hope you got it. Uh,
I did
but
see it. Yeah.
and Noah Fant as well, which is I think a underrated aspect to this trade.
It is, but it depends on because they have Drew Lock going to Seattle, right?
That don't count.
Yeah. I you're basically looking for a new quarterback. So it really depends
Mhm.
on who your QB is, but I think Fant is a good player. I almost
It hurts Denver way
it
more than it helps
hurts.
Seattle.
It does. It does. I don't put it like this. I don't think either team won long term with this move.
Yeah, that's a good bet.
I don't think they won long term, but in the short term, Denver definitely won. Like you got a QB. You didn't have a well, hold on. They had Teddy Bridgewater.
Exactly. And
So
they paid him.
and they paid him. That's another I didn't even think about that till now.
I mean, with someone like Russell Wilson, it's not a bad idea to have a high quality backup, but that's a big price tag.
That's a huge for a backup. That's a huge price tag. I'm Seattle. Seattle's rebuilding. Obviously, that's there's no other questions about that. But what? How far do you think that rebuild goes? Because at this point, they have all these draft picks, right? What are you looking at strategy wise? Are you looking to just kind of like plug in the holes where you have them now? Or do you just kind of like sell high on some guys like Metcalf, for example? You know,
Yeah.
I don't.
The weird thing is, I don't see them bottoming out with Pete Carroll on staff. I don't see that. And I know with this trade, that sounds like a ridiculous statement.
It
But I
does.
think they're a few moves away. In my opinion, I think for real, they're a few moves away from figuring this thing out. And that sounds kind of crazy. It's gonna take at least 2 years. Don't get that mixed up. But I think the long term move is give Pete Carroll good defense. He has a
Yes.
good defense, but give him
Yes.
a great defense. Bolster that side, focus on that. And with people like Tyler Lockett still on tap for your offense, you got pieces there too. But I think that's the most important side of the ball, in my opinion, where you saw this year specifically. It ain't the Seahawks of old as far as
Not at
that
all.
side of the ball.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's been their identity for so many years. So I think that's the key. That's where they rebuild first. And I think even with a Geno Smith as your starter, because I think he beats out Drew Lock.
Yikes.
I think he beats out Drew Lock in
I
that
think he does
competition.
too. Yeah.
But even with him as your starter, if you're able to fix that side of the ball, I could see them getting some things done. But as far as playoffs, like you're gonna have to wait at least 3 years for that, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I put it like this. If Watson's legal issues were somewhat close to being resolved, you flip those picks for him now. Yep. I don't think that's happening though. I if I'm Metcalf, I'm pushing my way out. If I'm Metcalf, I'm trying to figure out how I can get out, because there's no way that he's on his rookie deal for another 2 years.
Yep. All the receivers got tagged, by the way.
Yeah.
All the receivers got tagged.
You got to figure out some way to get out, because that's not, you don't want to just like, Geno Smith. I have respect for Smith because he's been able to stay in the league as long as he has, and he plays relatively okay football, right? That's not
when you put it that way.
Yeah,
relatively okay.
He's a good backup. He's a good backup. Yep. He's a good backup. He's not the guy you want as your starter though. So I'm trying to figure my way out, man.
100%.
Yeah. And I'm so glad, bro.
Especially Tyler Lockett. I feel the worst
for him. Yeah. I'm so glad that my Eagles did not try and trade for Wilson. Yeah. That's the move that did not make any sense. Any sense. Now go get me Metcalf or Lockett. Those are moves I'll trade for either one of those guys right now.
Who wouldn't? Let's be real.
Yeah. But I mean,
my Ravens better be on some of them calls too. Shit.
But yeah, Metcalf needs both of them need to figure out how to get out. They really do. Yeah. And I don't know how they do. Like, you got the Niners in a division, right?
Yep.
It's not the Rams. It's not like you're in a division that's weak. This is not the NFC South or Cardinals. East, right? Yeah, the Cardinals, I'm still kind of like questioning like what's going on with them, but they're still not a weak team. You know, it's one of those things you got to figure out how to be competitive. And if you're not trying to compete, if you cannot see yourself actually competing for the playoffs, there's no way you should be trying to do anything big right now. Like you said, next 2 to 3 years, you know, that you can compete again. But
I think the way we'll know from the outside looking in whether or not the Cardinals think they are those guys is if they re-sign Chandler Jones, because right now he hasn't been tagged.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest key. I think he was the biggest free agent to come out of that sort of franchise tag period.
Yeah,
definitely something to look out for, because if they don't even make a good faith effort, it really says a lot about how they feel internally about whatever the fuck is going on. Because that whole saga, I can't even. But I just want to say, I hated that you transitioned past the Deshaun Watson comment, because I was about to be like, you know, and this is gold right here. Like, as I thought of it, I was like, I can't believe I'm going to do this. But I was like, Deshaun Watson deserves no more happy endings. He's had enough. He's had enough. Get him out. I don't want anything good to happen for Deshaun Watson. All I gotta say is
that was perfect, man.
I know, and you didn't give me the chance. I had to bring it back.
I'm sorry. I gotta do better with my use, man.
You're good. I feel like that whole situation, I agree. I think he's the biggest guy now in the market. Now that these dominoes fell where they did.
Yeah.
That's the guy to look out for. But I hate it. I hope nothing good comes of it. Because of the player, not for anything else. I've been that guy, and I will be that guy, because since the start of this show, I made it clear
Yeah.
That shit is crazy. But let's get back to the matter at hand. I think the Broncos are a very exciting team this
They are.
season to look at. I got to ask you because defensively, they're there. This is what we were talking about last season. We were like, if they just had a quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
they're good money. So I got to ask you, we turning Georgia into a new bookie right now. What would you set the line on for their wins next season? The over under.
What did they? I forgot what their record was this year.
I can
Um,
pull that up for you.
realistically, out of what 17 games, right?
Yep, they were 7-10.
7-10. There's no way they do worse than 11 wins. There's 11 or 12 wins. There's
Yep,
no way they do any worse than that.
yep,
That's a solid team. that's
yeah,
a
man.
that's a really solid team. And I hate that they don't have Fant because honestly, um,
That pushed it over the edge. Like in my opinion, they're Super Bowl favorite if they didn't give
yeah,
away that
yeah,
piece.
you figure out somehow, some way to be able to fill that position in with someone that is either on his level or a little bit higher. I don't know who you find that's like that that's available right now, but
Mhm.
um, I mean, unless Gronk is free agent, right?
I knew
I
you were gonna say
I
it.
don't know how that would work, but because I really don't see him playing for anyone outside of Tom Brady. But
Mhm. He said he wanted to play with Joe Burrow. He said it.
yeah, he did, but I don't take him seriously. Really don't. Um, I mean, Gronk would be one guy, but I almost feel like you figure out somehow, yeah, who else is available.
Yeah.
But
Even if it's through the draft or
if
something,
it's
you
draft,
gotta
yeah,
address it.
yeah. But I mean, Fant would have definitely like, oh my god, Denver is a
Dude,
scary team, bro.
I was gonna
Denver is a
say
scary team.
that 1-2 punch between Cortland Sutton and Jerry Judy is
Yeah,
nice. Like
yeah,
let's make
yeah,
that clear.
yeah.
That and running back wise, they've always had a little bit of a toss up. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
lie. So
Mm-hmm.
that'll be interesting to play out. But
Mm-hmm. Their
I
run
feel
game
like
might actually be better
historically,
this year, though.
really, and why is that?
Russell Wilson.
Of course, of course.
So
I thought you had some deep take for me about
nah,
their third string running back. Yeah,
but their running backs might be better this year.
by
Just because of
committee. Yep.
yeah, yeah. You just go by committee and just do what you can do. I think
Yep.
this is gonna be a very interesting team. I don't know if I'm ready to fully like lean in and say Super Bowl right now,
Mhm.
but I mean they should be able to make it.
They should be at that level
They
for
should be
sure.
there. Yeah, they should be
And I
there.
was gonna say I would have personally set the line at probably, and this is gonna surprise you, probably 10.5. And the reason why I say 10.5 is
Yeah,
because you want to get that action on both sides. You want people to be like,
that's
yo,
true. That's true.
you gotta find it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? But that's how I'm looking at it. I
yeah,
agree. I won't be surprised if they end up in deep in the playoffs next season. I think a lot of things need to gel though. Like
yes,
that's something that a lot of people discount with these big shifts in teams. It's almost like
yeah,
Madden. Like you're like, oh, we'll
yeah,
be fine. Let's just bring
yeah.
him in and we're good.
Just, just hit
It
the
ain't
X
that
button.
easy. Yeah, exactly. Just hit the X button. It's fine. He's running routes.
Yeah,
But yeah, I personally think, and I hope the Russell Wilson stands, they got the headphones off right now. I personally think there's a little something to Seattle being willing to do this.
there
And
is.
I think last season there was a lot of injury issues. I think
Mm-hmm.
maybe the writing's on the wall a little bit more than we can tell at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I won't be surprised if he ends up getting injured for what 5 or 6 games, and that's a regular, like that's not a lot.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
let's be clear, that's
Yeah.
not a lot
Yeah.
to miss.
Yeah.
And now you're starting to wonder, are they a 10-win team?
Well,
Like I feel like that changes a lot.
well, it only changes if Teddy Bridgewater like isn't your backup, right? Like I
He's
think
also
that's
had issues himself
he
with
has,
injury as
but
well.
if all you need is 5 games from him, I think you can say you can at least get 5 from him.
Yeah.
If Westbrook, if Wilson is out,
Wrong Russell.
you're wrong one. Yeah, same black guy, but it's wrong one. I think if you're able to have him as your backup, then you're good. You're solid. Uh, my that was my biggest issue with even the conversation of Philly trading for Russell Wilson. The contract, the age, durability. You have a guy that's compared to him already on a rookie contract. Why would you move from that? You know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly.
that doesn't even make sense. So I agree with you on that. It's very possible that, like, you never heard me say it was dumb that Seattle wanted to trade him, right?
Yeah.
I like is you try to move on and like at the right time you got a Super Bowl from him. Could have had two if you had just ran the ball instead of pass, but that's neither here nor there. He won for you guys, kept y'all relevant for the last 7-8 years. Go ahead. I get it. I get it. So I love the move for Denver though. I think it's going to be very interesting. The climate might be something that he has to adjust to as well. Well, not
Shit.
might. It will be.
Everybody that plays in that building, you see them with the oxygen on the sideline. I don't blame them.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a thing. But I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Denver this year. That's gonna be a really interesting team to watch all season long.
I agree because I really could see it going either way. Like I could see it being freaking horrible, like really horrible.
Yeah.
Which makes it even more fascinating. So there's never a dull moment in the NFL free agency. This is the best time. This is the best time because I'm just thinking back to when we did our preview show. You know, there's so much in the air. There's so much to consider. And it really makes you happy as a fan. But I think it's appropriate that we move on to this disgusting headline because as a show that has been focusing on the betting angle of things, I can't believe this shit. So let me just set it up and then I'll tee you up. Calvin Ridley has been suspended the entirety of the next season for betting on games. Now let me get this straight. The Falcons were not a good team last year. They weren't a bad team either, though, which is not really the spot you want to be in. let me be clear about
purgatory that. For sure.
Exactly. And and when your best player's now out, it feels like you're completely on the opposite side of that. Completely on the opposite side.
Yeah.
So what I'm fascinated by on this whole conversation was, first of all, they looked into the bets, right? This is not some Pete Rose shit.
Yeah.
It's not like he was betting on the Falcons to lose. Like they were included in bets that they won and included in parlays. It's not like he was outright betting Falcons to lose and then playing horribly. Like I feel like that is a punishable offense.
Yes.
What he did here, this shit is criminal. Like I feel this shit is criminal. I don't care that he made money off the team winning. Because guess what? They weren't favored to win most of those games anyway. Like, let's be clear about that. He wasn't betting on the suspect side, first of all.
Yeah.
And then even more so, how come they can bet on other teams to do the same exact thing? Theoretically, wouldn't you think that I think immediately, if there was a time where he bet on them to lose, immediately you suspend them. I don't care what it is. But if it's only to win, like if you're allowed to bet, period, don't you think that's going to be the first, like that? What, like, why would I not want to bet on myself to win? So it's just so strange to me. I don't understand that side of it. You're not messing up the integrity of the game because
he wasn't playing, right?
If anything, you betting on some shit that is unlikely to happen. Like, let me be clear about that.
Yeah. But I mean, he wasn't those games. He wasn't even playing, right?
No.
That was my
some of
them.
Some of them.
Some of them he was. Okay, how many games total did he bet on?
That number didn't come out, but the entirety of the bets were not worth more than 1,500.
So you're talking about maybe like 3 games.
I mean, with parlays, that could be any number. Who knows?
Okay.
Because it depends on how much you put up, you know.
The only thing that I will say with him that I am disappointed in two things. And he actually bet on the Falcons to win, right? That's a losing bet. But he was smart with his, right? That's one. Two, why did you put it in your name? You can give the money to someone else, make the bet, and then you don't have to be connected to it.
I know you got a couple homies, bro.
Look, it's Atlanta. What are we talking about? This is Atlanta. There's people that know people that can do something, set you up. It's not hard. But those are only two things I'm really disappointed by with him. That's really it. With the NFL, I'm disappointed because this is a harsh punishment. Fine, punish the guy. I don't have a problem with that. But we're talking about like what, a couple of bets, and it's not like he has a betting problem from what we've understood. Exactly. This is just placing a couple of bets. So you mean to tell me you get a harsher sentence for betting on games as a player than you do for domestic violence? I'm very intrigued by that. I'm very intrigued by that because I think with a lot of past incidents, there's been 6 games I think guys have been suspended for.
A couple got 8.
A couple got 8, but for the most part, they were still able to play this season.
Yep.
Suspend the guy, no problem with that. 3 games though.
2, 3 games. I was about to say, like, I mean, your example is way better than mine, but I was about to say, like, how the fuck are you suspending him for the whole year, but you didn't take Miami's draft pick away,
bro?
Like, is it about the integrity of the game? Is that what it's about?
It's more so about the bottom line.
Shit is dumb.
That's really all it is. Because honestly, if you really wanted to punish him, fine him for what he won with the bets, right?
Negligible amounts.
Yeah, like I mean, we're not talking about anything crazy. He didn't do anything wrong necessarily. I don't think that because I mean, let's be honest, even when he was out there, it's not like he was able to actually influence the game that well because he only played a couple of games last year. We're not talking about him, going out there and just not catching the ball like Nelson Aguilar. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a couple of bets, and he was likely off from if depending on how many games that he betted on, the majority of those. He wasn't even in the game. What are we talking about here?
I couldn't agree more.
What's the issue? I don't get it. Do guys not place bets
on other teams? Exactly.
Does this not happen? Do they not play fantasy football? Am I supposed to actually believe that?
Yeah.
Am I like, there's so many other ways that you can look at this that can actually influence a game that could be more more of an issue than just placing a parlay. That doesn't even compute to me. I really don't understand. I almost feel like 2 to 3 games is too much. Suspend him for 1 game and that's fine. Like, I don't understand what we're talking about here. I don't understand what the actual issue is. And I would love if the league actually came out and decided to be transparent with this whole thing, because this doesn't make any sense. They're not going to. I get that. But it would be nice to actually get an understanding of why they reached this conclusion of a full season. I mean, it's only going to be better for him, right? Because he gets to heal up even more, train, get better in certain areas. I think he's going to push his way. You're going to probably get tired of me saying this. He's probably going to push his way to Philly, just because his Alabama connection. That's it. That's the only reason why. I saw he had like the picture of him in an Eagles uniform anyway. But I think it's only going to help him. I think whatever team he does end up going to is going to get it for cheap.
From one bird to another, it makes sense.
I mean, it's just there's a lot of factors that go into it that I'm, for him, cool. Let him have that time. He did have issues with with his mental health last season. Let him just do what he needs to do. But A full season makes no sense to me. I'm
And
not
my shit is, let's not act like this is a sabbatical, because it
right,
isn't. He ain't
right,
getting paid.
right,
He got suspended. Like
right, right.
that shit is fucked up.
Yeah,
Like
and
I
see
don't
that's another
care.
thing with that. And I'm not sure if you fully know this one or not, but does that not push his rookie contract a year, or is it that just counts against it if
That's a
he's not going
really
to get
good
paid?
question. I have no clue. That's a really good question. It should.
It
I mean,
should.
it's time served, right? It
Yeah,
should,
yeah,
which just fucks the organization even more. I
yeah,
mean, you're a
yeah.
jackass either way this plays out. If you're expected to do something and you don't do it, it's your fault. Like, let me just make that clear.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's just, if it was on games that they lost and he bet that they lost,
Yeah,
I don't care if he's on the team.
yeah,
That's sus.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is not sus.
yeah.
So I agree. I wish there was some rationale, but hey, we still haven't even heard on how they really feel about the Dolphins owner doing what is claimed to still allegations at this point.
Bro,
But
with the Dolphins owner Dan Snyder, the Texans owner, there's a
it keeps
lot of
growing.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Even what's his name? Chucky, from Raiders. What's the coach's name? Um, I'm blanking out.
Sorry.
I'm
Raiders are
blanking out.
off my radar.
Yeah. But their coach, damn, my bad.
You're
My
good.
bad, audience.
Head coach?
But yeah, the coach he just had that they lost this last season. Um,
Oh, Gruden.
Gruden, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, John
But like
Gruden.
even with him, like a lot of that stuff got swept under the rug real fast, right?
Yep.
But you kind
We
of
we we kicked him out, right? We don't got to talk about it if he's gone, right? That's how it is.
yeah, you want to pick and choose what it is you're transparent about. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm tired of the NFL. I'm tired of the NFL, man. There's a lot of stuff that they do that's so questionable that doesn't even make any sense. That I'm just whatever, whatever. I'm not surprised by this. I'm just surprised.
Yeah.
I was when I saw that he got suspended for the year. I was like, whoa, the hell happened? And then I saw what happened. What like
I
what?
thought it was gonna be some like some
He killed
story I didn't
someone.
see. Yeah, exactly.
He got rape allegations or something. That's along the lines of what I was actually thinking actually happened, right? He won $1,500.
I'm making parlays.
So what?
Come on, bro. Yeah.
So what? So what?
One
I mean,
of us.
yeah.
One of us.
You can't tell me that refs don't do it. You can't tell me refs don't do fantasy football. You can't like
That is very true.
the integrity of the game. I have said this repeatedly. I don't think that the NFL truly cares about the integrity of the game. It's just more so about the bottom line. They don't care about the
Bottom
integrity.
line, the optics. Yep.
Yes, yes. Because if it was the
And it's
integrity of the
funny
game, there's a lot of other
because
moves that have been made.
they're also subjective about what kind of bad publicity they'll allow. What kind of bad publicity is good publicity?
Yes.
And unfortunately, with their fan base, a lot of that is racism. So
Mm-hmm.
let me just make that clear. Fuck the NFL when it comes to that. I can't believe that we're in this situation. Shout out Calvin Ridley. Do your thing, bro.
Hey.
Hopefully you find some way to make money during this time.
He's
Because
going to.
it ain't gonna be parlays, bro. I'll tell
Yeah,
you that.
yeah, not at all. But he might. If I'm going to actually make a bet on something, he's going to get with esports. With some esports team, he's going to get on
Why
and
not? Yeah.
just play. I mean,
Got a
you're in
lot more
Atlanta too.
time.
You
Shit, you
got a
might as
lot of
well get
time.
nice.
Yeah.
Word.
So yeah, that's what I'm willing to place a bet on.
Yeah. And if any fantasy owners out there, a little late fourth, fifth round Kyle Pitts, that's not a bad pick,
Yo,
bro. That's not a bad pick.
yo,
I expect at least 1,400 yards out of him now, right? Like at least. I mean, he got what 1,002
I think
on his
so.
rookie
He got
season.
a he got a quiet thousand too. It wasn't even like it wasn't anything that anyone really like raved about. It was something that was really, really quiet. I think it's mainly because the Falcons are a trash team.
Yeah.
Really. Um, but with him being the number one option, yeah. Yeah, he should be someone you get fourth, fifth round, something like that.
If you get him in the third round, though, you a clown. I just want to make that
Yeah, you
clear.
should. That's not the move to make. That's not the move to
Yes,
make.
sir.
But tight end one, second year, yeah,
Why not? Why
yeah.
not?
Why not?
But all
I'm getting
right,
him on one of my teams for sure.
it's only right. I mean, Matt Ryan got to throw to somebody. Shit, you got to throw to
Jesus ain't gonna
somebody.
catch it, so go ahead.
Shit. Cordarrelle Patterson too, because everyone's gonna pick Cordarrelle though. Like honestly, like for a lot of the people that play fantasy football, let me be clear,
Yeah,
a lot of them don't know shit. Like,
yeah,
and I see this
yeah,
even in the most
yeah.
competitive leagues that I'm in. Like when
Mm-hmm.
you look towards that bottom half,
Mm-hmm.
and there's people starting, and this is in the NBA, help transition a little bit. There's
Yeah,
people
yeah,
starting Carmelo Anthony on their fantasy team. And I'm like, hold on, brother. I don't know what NBA you fucking with. It ain't 2007 no more. You feel me? Like,
yeah. That ain't the move to make right there, buddy.
but we shall see. As we move on
Yes,
to
sir.
the most important aspect of this season in the NBA, the part that not many people are talking about because it worked last year. So
Yeah.
it's just a big deal. Well, it's not a big deal. It's looked at as not a big deal. But the play-in tournament, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a real big key
Yeah.
to the way the NBA runs nowadays. I think
Yeah.
those teams that are in that space, in that sort of 10 range, even the 11 range teams,
Mm-hmm.
like now you got something to play for, which makes things a little more interesting. Um, the way this race is shaping up, though, I'll read it out just so everyone's aware. I'm gonna read 7 through 11 on both sides, just so
Mm-hmm.
we could see the picture. In the Eastern Conference, our seventh seed is the Raptors. Right after is the Hornets, the Nets, Hawks, and then the Wizards. With only what is this 4 games apart between the five of those teams.
Yeah, something
And
like
then in
that.
the
Yeah.
Western Conference, we've got the Timberwolves, the Clippers, the Lakers, Pelicans, and then the Trailblazers. This one is a much bigger gap.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the Pelicans and Trailblazers could swap spots here. I could see that happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But besides that, I feel like this one is
Well,
more set in stone.
I almost feel like that might not. You don't have Dame in Portland right now. And CJ is actually playing very well in New Orleans.
Yep.
Um, I don't know that they swap places. I almost feel like that's if anything else, I almost feel like the Blazers are gonna lose a couple more real
I
soon.
mean, if you look at who else is there, Spurs, Kings, Thunder, they're the only team that has a chance. So let's
Yeah,
make that
yeah,
clear.
yeah.
But I agree. I agree. Who you got balling out there? It's a hard time out there.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's gonna end up happening, but the play-in tournament for both conferences are very intriguing because a lot of these are a couple of teams in here that people had in the conference finals.
Finals. Yeah.
The Nets, the Hawks. I've heard arguments for the Hawks for sure.
Yep.
The Lakers, Clippers. Those are teams that people had in there as well. I'm
I mean, injuries destroyed the Clippers though.
injuries destroy the Clippers, but I don't even know if it really destroyed them. It hurt their record, but the team is actually really good.
Yeah, I meant that conference finals
Yeah,
hopes
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
Reggie Jackson, dude. I'm an OKC guy through and through.
yeah.
I knew I was screaming Reggie before any of y'all were. Let
You
me
were,
get that
you were,
straight.
you were, you were
And they definitely should consider him, in my opinion, for most improved player because
for
he's
sure.
really raised his game up to be
Yeah,
very consistent 20-point scorer for that team.
yeah,
And they're going to make the playoffs, no matter how you look at it, if it's a tournament or not. They're still the AFC. They still destroyed the Lakers in that series and
swept them.
positioned themselves well. Yep, positioned themselves really well. But what I think the most interesting, honestly, is the fact that the Nets and the Hawks are at 9 and 10. Like,
Which is wild,
bro, under the
wild.
Hornets, like I think the most surprising part, obviously, is how good the Cavs have been, and that's why everything sort of shifts down from there,
Mm,
where things were a little bit more expected.
mm.
But the Nets and Hawks at 9 and 10 is like they're barely making the play-in tournament.
Yeah,
Like the Wizards are right there. Like
yeah.
if Bradley Beal was still playing, I think that would be a no doubter.
Mm,
Obviously, being led by Kuzma is not a position you want to be in, and I could
no.
see it being locked up the way it is right now and not
Yeah,
changing.
yeah.
But I would have expected the Hawks to be at least 6 and for the Nets to be at least 4th.
But see, I think we discussed it preseason though. We both had the Hawks. If I remember correctly, top 5.
Yep.
Top 5, top 6. Um this is the position I expected them to be in if Trey wasn't playing.
Hmm.
I don't I
I don't
don't
get it.
know. I don't know what's going on with Atlanta. I mean, it's Atlanta, but I don't understand what's going on. That doesn't make any sense. And they gave up a couple of, they made some moves, that if this is the position you're going to be in, what was the purpose of making those moves? Collins, I don't know what the purpose of keeping him was if you're going to keep doing this.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't know why they paid him that much anyway.
I don't either. I don't either.
That might be the problem. that might be why we're here.
Yeah.
And people like the Bogdanovich brother. I always forget. Is
Yes.
it Boban or Bojan? I can never tell them apart.
I don't know. Bojan.
One of those. He yes, sir. He left that BB belt back where it was because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
He has not lived up to that sort of hype that everyone
Yes.
had when he got there.
Yeah.
And to me, I think the biggest sort of clown moment of this season, more so than what's happening with the Lakers and what's happening with all the Nets. How the fuck was this team coming out talking about we just worried about the playoffs? Motherfucker, you might not make it in.
I don't know. And where they were last year, like it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make like you should be taking a step forward. Eastern Conference Finals. That's a step you make instead of playing. You don't want to be in a play-in bracket, like I don't know. There's no way that any of these teams turn it around to avoid the play-in. For example, the Nets are not going to turn it around. It's way too late for them to turn it around. You've got Ben Simmons still sitting out.
They're probably not even going to make the eighth seed. Yeah.
Bro, to be completely honest, let me ask you this. Would it just not make more sense to just sit Ben Simmons out the rest of the season at this point?
I see why you say that. They'll never do that.
They're not going to.
They're going to try. They're going to try to get him to play, and I understand that.
They're not going to.
I think at the end of the day, if he could play, why not play him? Like, that's the way I look at it. Because it's not like from what I understand, it's not like he's under a serious risk of re-injury with whatever issues he has going on. I don't see why you would keep him out or decide, we're not even trying to pursue that. When you're trying to win, like they're trying to win, regardless of how bad they are at it.
I don't know why you trade for him.
I do. I think he's good, bro. I really do think he's good. And there's time.
The player, yes, I agree with you on that. The player is good. But if the man is not going to do what he needs to do to elevate to the next level, to make that player be what everyone knows he can be, why make the trade? Why make the trade? I didn't expect the Harden, Durant, Irving thing to get a championship. That I didn't expect that trio to get a championship at all. But I almost feel like they had a better shot because that's a guy that's actually playing, right? Like, I don't know.
What's funny? I think addition by subtraction. There was a real issue with Harden and Kyrie and the ball handling.
Right.
Even though they barely got to play together.
Yeah.
That was a real sort of chemistry issue. And when you have a player like KD who also has a high ISO rate, the ball's getting stopped on every side of the court with that trio. So in a way, I feel like adding Drummond and adding Seth Curry, those are big pieces to sort of open up those two primary ball handlers to actually be better and
Yeah.
play better.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's questionable. And when you look at it like that, when you look at it almost like they invested in him as a six man, when you have a six man that has that much potential, I mean, you can't really hate on that. Like
You
you can't really
can't.
hate on that.
You can't. And I don't think that this trade works out for them this year anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
This trade was never for this year.
this it was never
Let's,
for this
let's make
season.
that clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was never for this season. But I almost feel like, truth be told, we're gonna look back on this trade and say Philly won the trade, like
100%.
hands down. Because I don't know that that Ben. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't get what the issue is, because now he's going to Philly for the game Thursday, but he's not playing, sitting on the bench, right? It just came out that they're expecting him to file a complaint against the Sixers, which I don't know why. Like, what that's about. Like, what would that do anyway? Um, I get the addition by subtraction thing, but it's almost like another subtraction by adding Ben, because I don't now the Seth and Drummond move. Those two moves, those two pieces, I think are spectacular to add to your team. I don't I don't know that Simmons was needed for them to succeed. You see what I'm saying? Like, long term, I don't know. I don't know.
I think him being traded has more to do with the Sixers than the Nets. Like I feel like
Yeah.
if they could have found a third team, I could imagine a scenario where he would have went somewhere else and they would have got the pieces that they got. I agree. I think when you look at any draft class, it's not about the player you're getting, it's about the potential.
Hmm.
And that's ultimately what I think is the justifying factor of that move, where
Yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
if it doesn't work out this season or even the next, if you got him on contract and you keep him, like that's now a 24 25, 26 year old player
Hmm.
3 years down the road that's
Hmm.
supposed to be good.
Yeah, but you're not gonna have KD or Irving there.
And you don't have to.
But can
Like,
you
let me be clear
realistically?
about that. You don't have to have him
You
and
don't.
be good.
You don't. But can you realistically see a, a team succeeding with Ben acting like this? I'm not talking about the player. The player, yes, I understand you build around that type of player. You build that, and you're fine. But it's not just the player we're talking about. We're talking about the man with the mindset, with the
For sure.
issues that he's, the sensitivity that he has. I don't know that you can build around him. Like, I don't know if he can actually be your focal point. If he's a third option, cool. But I don't like, with this going on, I don't know that you can. And I'm likely, I can say it, and most likely I could be wrong on that one. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But as it looks right now, with everything that's been going on with him for the last year and a half, I
And let me put it to you this way: the Sixers were a perennial playoff team with Ben Simmons as your second option.
yes,
So having him as your third option, not a
yes,
bad place to be. But
not a
I
bad
get
place.
entirely what you mean, though. Like, the same way I speak about potential is the same way you could say the reality of what's been happening the last two seasons. Stay
Mm,
the fuck away from this guy.
yeah,
And I agree with that too. Like, I get all sides of it. I just really feel like long term, this is not the last we're gonna hear of Ben Simmons. Like, I really feel
it's
like
not.
there's gonna be a couple all-star games in his future. And I firmly believe that. I think he's that kind of player. But like you said, we can never predict these things.
Yeah.
Hell, Shabazz Mohammed, who is also in the news this week for having a terrible missed dunk attempt while
Yeah,
also scoring 34 points in the game.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Former NBA players can ball. Don't get that
Yes.
mistaken for all y'all wannabe hoopers at home. But
Yeah.
he got picked before Giannis. And everyone points to that as sort of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
how did that happen? Well,
So did
there's so
Kelly
many
Olynyk.
different factors. Exactly. And he's buzzer beater for the Pistons the other day. Oh man. I I think it's gonna be really cool to look back at that trade more so than
Yeah.
trades like where it's evident, where you're like, yeah, of course the Rockets won by getting James Harden.
Mm,
Well, with this one, it's going to be really hard to tell which way this goes. And it really depends on Ben Simmons and how well he does and whether or
right.
not he sticks around in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
All these things are to be determined, which is exciting.
It is. It is. But again, I don't see KD or Kyrie sticking around.
Yep.
Long
I
term, I
hate
don't see it, man.
I hate that shit. Like I really hate that now it's just assumed like no one's gonna stay where they are. And you
Yeah.
know what's funny about this shit, which I've been thinking about lately?
Mm-hmm.
This has been the landscape of the league for probably like 7 years now. But the
Mm-hmm.
funniest part about it is the Knicks still never got good. Like all the time where the whole center is on, everyone can find their own path and
Oh.
go where the money is. And the Knicks have still been absolute garbage. It's hilarious to me. I'm sorry, Jonathan. I had to do it. I had to do it.
Well, I tease him all the time anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I got laughed at for the Celtics giving up Kimber Walker and Evan Fournier.
And that's looking terrible right
I
now.
tried
Whoever
telling
said
them.
that,
I tried telling everyone like guys,
have you
come on,
not
man.
been watching?
Like
Yeah.
we went as far as we could with we got the most we could out of both players. That was it. What you saw that we got, that was it. I don't know how y'all expect them to go any further than that. And
Bro,
there you go. Kimba is on the outside
Fournier
looking
used to
in.
have a man bun, bro. He out here like me
Yeah,
now. You think this shit like y'all got every last drop out of that.
he's
Yeah, for
gone.
sure.
He's yeah. So which again, that whole Kimba Walker thing, we didn't even discuss that last week, but I almost feel like it's not his season is not up. I know they said they're gonna sit him out for the rest of the season, but Derrick Rose being out with whatever his surgery was, I don't see how they don't play him again this season. Um,
Just because they need a warm body,
you
literally.
need someone there. You just need a human being there, and you're not gonna.
I'm so glad the Knicks are trash. Like I'm so happy because
It is what it
everyone
is.
last year was like, if we here now, imagine next season we're gonna be at least top three, at least. I'm like, bro,
Yeah,
get the fuck.
y'all gotta chill out, man.
My whole life, I've dealt with delusional Knick fans, and
Yeah,
now I just like the tears. Just give me all the tears. I'll drink them
sweet,
delightfully. Yeah.
sweet. I love nothing more than
So
Lakers
real quick,
tears and Knicks tears.
I'm gonna give you the scenarios, and I'm just gonna
Yeah,
have you pick our playoff teams right now. If the season ended right now,
yeah.
our games were the Raptors against the Hawks and the Hornets against the Nets. Let's pick them one game at a time. Raptors,
Ooh,
Hawks. Who you got in that one?
I'm going. I'm I'm
One
going
game. Remember,
Raptors.
this is one game.
Think
Yeah, I'm going Raptors too. They're
going
good, man.
Raptors. Yeah,
Scotty Barnes. Let me make sure
yeah,
I'm getting that
yeah,
correct.
yeah,
That guy could ball. Like
yeah.
it's
He
very
can.
rare in the NBA today. And this is gonna be super random and kind of like, Ayo, that's a little sus that you're noticing this, but it's very rare to have tattoo-less players in the NBA. And he's on my all tattoo-less team because that dude is everywhere, like
Yeah, yeah,
everywhere on the court. He is there with the fucking socks pulled up to his knees,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he's doing something to make an impact.
He's
So
a dog. He's a dog, and that's those kind of guys you want on your team. So
yeah,
yeah,
man.
I
And
think
then
they will be
guys like
good.
Achua, they got a sneaky good team
They
in
do.
Toronto. A lot
They
of
do.
people sleep on them.
They do.
And it's tough because you look at that series and you're like, you think the Hawks have the talent to win one game, but I
They
don't
got the
trust them either.
names. They got the
I don't trust
names.
them either. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we both got the Raptors in that one. So Raptors are now the 7th seed. Hornets, Nets. Who are you picking in that one?
Bro, I'm going Hornets.
Nah, you can't. You
No,
can't do me like that,
I'm
bro.
going Hornets. I'm going Hornets.
Okay.
If we're talking about how the trajectory of these
One.
teams are right now,
Yep.
but that's what I'm basing it on. The trajectory of where these teams are right now. I think one aspect for Charlotte that's not been talked about a lot is they got Isaiah Thomas. He's on a 10-day contract. I think it makes sense that they sign him for the rest of the year. I don't know if they're going to, but if you're talking about right now, that team has more, more like
Yep.
they just have more. I get Kyrie and KD, I get it, but it sounds blasphemous to say Hornets over the Nets,
Yeah.
just on paper, right? But you look at how these teams have been playing lately. If I'm not mistaken, the Hornets have actually been undefeated since they got Isaiah Thomas. The Nets have lost how many games in the
It's a
last
long
2-3
stretch.
weeks?
They're 3-7 in their last 10, and they lost 4 straight. I mean,
Just
Hornets ain't much better. They're
they're
four
not
and
much
six, but
better. Yeah,
they
yeah,
won
yeah.
their last 2.
Yeah. I'm just talking about the trajectory of these
For
two
sure.
teams
For sure.
right now. You don't have Ben Simmons, so we're not talking about having like this tremendous depth on your bench, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Hornets have a little more depth. One game right now, I'm taking the Hornets.
I respect that. I respect that. I fucked up. Let me let me be clear about this, because when I was thinking about the question being posed, I always assumed that it was a couple weeks, 2 months down the line. To be clear, we're talking about today. I think I agree with you. I definitely am picking the Hornets. So I posed that question poorly.
No, I got you, man.
Over time, I would imagine that if that's the matchup we get, that the Nets are gonna win.
Yeah.
Like I can't, especially because of the playoff acumen of certain players on that team.
KD is not allowing that to go down.
Yeah, man, he'll put on lotion for that. So, like, there's no way that happens. So, I no upsets for me in this one. I think I would still pick the Nets, but I like your pick, dude. I like your pick.
Yeah.
Western Conference. Sorry,
we're talking about right. I'm just saying because we're talking about right now. That's it.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Next up, Timberwolves, Pelicans. Easiest one, right? Out of all of them.
Yeah. I'm going with the Wolves for sure.
Fucking Pelicans got 27 wins, bro. I want to throw up in my mouth. How are they in the play-in tournament with 27 wins?
Because the Trailblazers had 25.
Legit, a travesty.
That's it.
And then my favorite, Clippers versus Lakers. My favorite.
Yeah,
I'm going with the Clippers. I'm going with the Clippers.
LA's winning this one.
I hate you.
Oh man, the Clippers are winning this. I think if I remember correctly, I think they've won like out of like the last 7 meetings, they've won all those meetings against the Lakers. This is the time for the Clippers fans to rejoice over the Lakers fans.
Yeah, man.
The Lakers don't.
Have you ever met a Clippers fan?
No.
I really got to ask you.
I've
met one, and he was a Chris Paul fan. So that doesn't count.
Yeah,
it don't count. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I actually bumped into a Bucks fan for the first time last spring. And I didn't even know they existed. So yeah, I don't know a Clippers fan, but yeah, the Lakers are in a bad shape. Like I told you, I think a couple weeks ago, the only reason why they won that championship is because of the bubble. That's the only reason why. And I know people hate me saying that. They are not winning that championship without that bubble. They better thank God COVID hit, because there's no other way they won that championship that year. There's no other way. Not at the pace where they were going when everything hit. There's no way.
And I was on the opposite end. I always was like, the cream rises to the top. They could have found their way. No, yeah, you're right.
Nah, it's age.
Time told that story.
Yeah, when you have all this, you have these older players on your team. When you have older players
and the oldest young player in the league.
Yeah.
In Anthony Davis.
Yeah. That's what I don't understand. That bubble helped them out tremendously, because when you have all those old guys on your team, and they have that long of a break, that was like what, a 5-month break, I think, 4 or 5 month break. They're all able to get rested up. That's when the experience kicks in. That's when they're able to take over. I mean, look, cool.
It worked.
It worked. But there was no way they had no chance in hell of being able to repeat that with that roster, or being able to do the exact same thing with this roster. There's no way. There's no way.
Which is
There's
why
no
we
way.
hated when LeBron was like, "We got to get a parade over here for what we've done."
Because what? For what? Like, it make we have a new champion already. Like, there's your window for that is closed long ago. So, the Lakers have a lot of stuff that they need to do. They're not going to be able to though.
There's not enough time.
There's not. I'm talking about after this year. They don't have any. It's going to be a long time before the Lakers are able to get back into relevancy and actually competing for championships year after year after year. It's going to be a while before they're able to do that.
I agree. Especially with all the writing that's on the wall at the moment.
Yeah. Anthony.
You know what's funny though? I really feel like the Cavaliers did. I think once LeBron leaves, they keep AD. Like they really could be good. Like quickly after he leaves. Bro, I really believe that.
I don't think that, and I'm gonna tell you why. This might sound blasphemous as well. I think we've seen peak AD already, bro.
I can't sign off on that.
Health.
I respect
health.
Look at Embiid.
Bro. I don't know. I get Embiid, but Embiid came into the league like that, right? He had just started playing basketball, like 2 or 3 years prior to his draft year. Like he had just started playing basketball. I think that's the biggest part of the reason why he's able to sustain right now. AD, it's like every time he gets over an injury, 5-6 games, he's injured again.
And it's not the same one.
It's
a different one each time.
It's something else. And I don't want anyone to think I'm making fun of him. I don't celebrate injuries at all to whoever we're talking about, right? But it's just like what you're seeing. AD cannot be the guy you build around. He can't be just because of health.
There's no way on any team he ends up on, he's less than a second option. So you are building around AD.
Bro, he better be your third option.
I can't imagine that. What team would he be the third option on right now?
The Celtics.
That's a good. I hate you for that.
The Sixers. Who else?
But realistically, that's not possible, you know? I get what you mean, though.
Even the Clippers. If you're talking about the Clippers, right? You get Kawhi and Paul George back. He'd be a third option on that team.
There's not many guys who's not a third option with those two guys, though.
Yeah, right. But I mean,
I can't talk shit. I asked a question. You gave me 3. You gave me 3 teams. I respect it. You got it. But for me, it's like, I think it's a lot of recency bias that's making you feel this way. And I respect that.
He's recently been hurt a lot.
Exactly. But we've seen people get over patches like this.
This has been 2 or 3 years, right?
It's been 3 years, yeah.
Where it's injury, constantly over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
Again, the bubble helped him.
For sure.
If you remember, before the bubble,
he was injured. Yep.
He was hurt. So, yes, this is a little bit recency bias because recently, for the last couple of years, he has been hurt a lot. Now, if he was able to figure out somehow, some way to rejuvenate his body to where this wasn't happening all the time, I would feel differently for sure because the talent is still there. I'm just saying in terms of like this guy being able to lead your team night in, night out, being able to meet that expectation, being able to, that's not there. That's gone. That's gone.
But let's be clear about one thing. He's 27 years old.
Yes.
That he's not in his prime yet.
He can still go. But I don't know how you I think his ability to play will still be there, but
at that level
is not. That's what I'm saying. You can't be the number one option if you don't have that level of dominance. If he's your number one option, hurt this much, it's almost like what we're seeing with Zion Williamson, right? He's dominant when he's out there on the floor, but how long is he out on the floor for?
Just so funny given that the Pelicans ties there.
Yeah, but it's just weird. Also, another team that he would be a third option on, the Suns, the Warriors. He'd probably be a fourth option right now, which is not a bad
There's no
thing.
way he ends up in that scenario,
It's
but
not,
I agree.
but I'm saying, like, if you're talking about, if you're just looking at teams, don't think about cap space and all that stuff. If you're talking about where that would happen right now,
Mhm.
any of those teams I named,
I could
he,
name a
he
lot
wouldn't
more
be.
teams where he would be a number 1 or 2 than
Oh, for
than he
sure.
would be a 3 or 4. But
Yeah,
I get
yes,
what you mean.
yes. But those are teams that are not competing. The
I
Kings.
mean, ask Knicks fans, they competing. As Knicks fans, they believe. Nah, I feel you though.
But
I agree.
Even
Yep.
Brooklyn, he's not the first option on your team.
Yep. Or the second. Yeah, man.
So yeah, like AD, if he's not able to get back to where he was physically, where he wasn't getting injured like this all the time, that's a different conversation.
For sure.
It's a different conversation. But he's not. I don't see that happening. When you have that many injuries pile up in that short period of time, there's come
Yeah,
on.
man.
I don't see that being able to be something you get over. And again, Embiid, his stuff happened at the beginning of his career when he had just started playing basketball.
This is still the beginning of AD's career, though. I mean, he came into when he was in college, when he was recruited. Let's not make. I think this is huge, and
Yeah.
this is a big part about it because a lot of this gets discounted. When
Mm-hmm.
he was recruited into college, it was not as a forward; it was as a guard,
Oh
and
yeah,
he
yeah, yeah,
grew. He had
yeah,
that big growth spurt,
yeah.
and that changed. That changes a lot, and it makes sense when you think of the injury issues.
Mm-hmm.
He's not used to playing with that frame or playing that play style.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
not
yeah,
something he grew up with either.
yeah.
So I think their careers are very interesting to sort of pit
They
against
are.
each other because of that.
Yeah.
Um, I think another guy that I would say time will tell much more.
Mm.
I just feel like if it ends up like you're saying, I think that'll be one of the more tragic sort of career changes that we've witnessed in the
Well,
past couple of years.
don't get me wrong. I still think he's going to be able to play very well
No, I know for
because he's
sure.
got handles. He can shoot. He's going to be able to do it. But
He was being
bang it,
talked about as top 5, though.
right,
Like that's
right.
the problem.
That I think is over. The banging in the paint, he can't do that. Not night in, night out. He can't do that. I
He
think
never could do that.
he never could. But you're talking about now, like if you're the number one option, right? You'd have to do that. And he's not going to be able to do that. Otherwise, he's going to be out like he is right now.
Exactly. Yep.
So, I hate saying, trying to, go along the whole doom and gloom type of thing, but I don't see how his career lasts with him as a number one option. 2 or 3, I, I think that's more of
Well,
his spot. I think that's more of
gotcha.
his spot. Yeah.
And I could agree with that 100%. So I think before we move on, it's only appropriate since we're already in the land of broken dreams that we talk about the situation going on with Russell Westbrook right now. So
Yeah.
um I saw a post recently
Mhm.
from I believe it's Westbrook's wife,
Yes.
where she made it very clear, like, I don't give a fuck what any of y'all think about what you think you should be able to tell someone.
Mhm.
I'm getting death threats,
Mhm.
and this is a fucking game. Like,
Yeah.
let's make that all clear.
Yeah.
I can never understand the fickle nature of fans. I'm an OKC fan, bro.
Mhm.
I I've been through it all. Like,
You
I
have.
don't understand
Yeah.
how you could be so fickle, not even just to boo somebody. Like, it's okay to boo people. I think sometimes those guys need that for real to
Mhm.
sort of
Mhm.
help change their trajectory.
Mhm.
But to go out, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's gonna be hate anywhere you go. That's just the way people are.
Yeah.
They see someone that's living 10 times better than they ever could imagine living. Of
Yeah.
course they're gonna easily be willing to talk that shit. But
Mhm.
just the level of what's the word, venom from these people, and the hate that he gets. I hate to see it as an OKC fan because with Russ, you knew from the get when he was on that sort of top 20 player list,
Mhm.
even then we knew that you got to take the bad with the good. Like this is not a player
Yes.
that is a PER machine. He's not a efficient sort of aficionado where you
Hmm.
know he's going to get this amount of no.
Hmm.
It's very volatile.
Hmm.
But when you get the high end of it, which he's still shown some flashes of, let's be clear, flashes.
Yes.
Um, when you get the high end of it, everyone loves Russ. Like,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of things about Russ's game that I think even the highest level of players lack on a night to night basis. Just the fire, the willingness.
That motor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I've seen more fucking mid range bricks than any of those LA fans have ever thought about while being on the same team as a prolific scorer like KD. And even then, I fucking love Russ. I still love Russ to this
Yeah.
day
Yeah.
because, man, like he's dynamite. Like there's not a lot of players in this league that are dynamite.
Yeah.
And to hear that he's getting those kind of disgusting remarks thrown at him and people heckling him almost on a nightly basis,
Fans of the
grow
team.
up,
We're not talking
grow
about
up
traveling, going to other places. This is in
at
LA.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, LA has always had problems with their home crowds. Let's make that
Yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
But to that level, it's disgusting, man.
It's weird. I don't. He's definitely not staying next year.
I don't
There's
blame him.
no
Go
way
to the
he's
Clippers,
staying.
bro.
I would be to be petty, sure, but I don't even know if that would even work for him.
Yeah, fit wise for sure. I
Yeah,
don't know
fit
what team works
wise,
for him right now, which
I
is
don't
even
either.
sad to think about.
I don't either. Um, yeah, I don't know
Get him back on the Wizards or something.
because it's almost too little, too late to bring him back to OKC.
Yeah, for sure.
So I don't know.
I could see them doing that though, like almost like a farewell kind of
Gonna
thing.
bring him out. I don't know. It almost makes sense to just wait for the Sonics to come back and
Let him get drafted. Oh man.
expansion team. I don't know where he would go that makes sense right now. There's
Yeah, me neither.
no team that I can think of that needs a
That wants
guard,
him.
wants him
Yep.
or needs him. There's no
Yeah.
need for him, and that's weird
The
to
Knicks will
say
take him.
because
Knicks
oh,
will
the
take
Knicks
him.
would Knicks will take look if
Knicks will take you,
If
bro.
Santa Claus played, yeah, all right, they would. But if
With the
Santa,
Tims.
yeah, 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 it's so New York. But yeah, anyone that can play, that's got a name, it's really just a name. The Knicks are going to go for it. You know,
Yeah.
that's why. But that's also why I didn't understand why the LA would even go for Westbrook. Think about it. You had DeMar DeRozan right there, the better fit,
Dude. Same storyline too. Yep. But
much
I
better
mean,
fit.
that's easier to say now than it was at the
No,
beginning of
it
the
made
season.
sense back then too,
It made
because
sense then, but not as much sense as it makes now. Let's
m-
make that clear.
mainly because I was thinking more so of like ball control. We're not looking at
Mm-hmm.
Westbrook to be a six man. If he was a six man, that makes sense. You're not looking to get him to have him come off the bench. You're looking to get him to start with LeBron and AD. That made no sense.
Yep.
That like just from off rip, that made no sense to me. I didn't think it was going to end up like this.
Especially when they had Rondo too.
We had
That
Rondo.
shit is so weird. Yeah.
None of it made sense. It just nothing. No, none of the pieces fit.
He was just star searching.
It's
That's what it
it's like
was.
it's like trying to put the All Star team together to actually go play a real game.
Good luck.
And this is an old All Star team. This is not like a current All Star team.
Yep. For
It's just
sure.
it's just like through when you look back through the time and saying like this is an All Star team. Like, all these names, all these champions, all these Hall of Famers. Yeah, cool, cool. It doesn't work.
Yep.
It doesn't work.
Especially when those guys are walking towards the retirement home.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I don't know what I wish nothing but the best for Westbrook and his family, but I don't know. I mean, he's not gonna. His career isn't over, but I
Dude,
don't
and
know
if you
where
get
he
caught
goes.
doing that shit, like I
Yeah,
don't care if it's I'm a home fan. If you get caught doing that shit, you should be blacklisted across the NBA. Like you
you
shouldn't be
should be
allowed to go
because
any
it's
game.
like what was happening with Utah. right? Like
Yep.
there was team, but I mean that was
And that was Westbrook
racial.
too.
That yeah, it was.
Why does
That was
everyone hate
Westbrook.
Westbrook,
What
bro?
the hell, man?
Fucking hell, man.
I
That's
feel
why I
bad for the
fucking
guy.
love Westbrook, bro. Exactly. I feel bad for the guy.
I feel bad for him because that doesn't make any sense.
And the biggest haters that he has, and I hate to say this because look at me, but the biggest haters that he has are the keyboard warriors, are the people that never played in a college game in their
Yeah,
life because
yeah,
they can't comprehend the level of what makes him special, the level of athlete that he is.
yeah,
Even
yeah,
as he's having issues on the court, those
yeah,
things haven't changed.
yeah,
He still has that same explosion.
yeah,
So it's yeah, he doesn't deserve half the flack he gets.
yeah.
But at the same time, something needs to be done about that culture. Because at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want about you being competitive, you want to win. Do you think he doesn't want to win? Do you think he's out there doing shit that suggests he doesn't want to win? Is he pulling up from Curry range? No.
I'm gonna be
If anything,
completely
he's
honest.
fighting for rebounds more than your fucking centers are.
For
So
sure, for sure.
respect the man, you
But
know?
I think if he were to go ahead and transform his game into a sixth man role, oh, anywhere,
100%.
anybody could use him. But if he's not going to transform his game into sixth man role, the options are like I don't know where you go.
But that's where the intangibles meet up with the personality.
Right, and I
Because
think he'll get
that's
there.
where his issues with KD started.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
even with KD on his team,
yeah,
he's like, I'm the first fucking option.
yeah.
So imagine trying to train him to be a six man now. Like that's out of the cards. And it's weird.
But I think he'll get there though. I think he'll get there because if you're talking about a guy that just loves the game, right? Like I don't look at Westbrook as a guy that's selfish or doesn't care about winning. I think he cares about winning. I think he thinks he's the number one option. And it takes guys a while to not be, not be in that space mentally. Like you saw how long it took Melo to get to that point where it was like, because you saw the last couple of years in New York was just like, bro, come on
Get him
now.
out the league.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then he was struggling to get back in. And once he got back in, it was like, okay, know my place. And then he did well in Houston. He did well in OKC. Did well in Portland. And then
Found a spot. Yeah.
yeah. So I think if he's able to adjust his game like that, it's going to take a while though. That's a transitional phase or a transitional period in a player's career where they got to take that back seat. Because look at LeBron.
He hasn't.
He hasn't
But
done
he's
that
a
yet.
different kind of player.
But but one could argue, does he need to be your number one option? Because
At this stage of his career, no.
Because think about this. If AD was able to stay healthy, LeBron would have to be the second option.
I don't think he would, though. In actuality, would he really be?
He should.
I don't think so.
He should.
I don't think so.
He should be.
On a team with D Wade and Chris Bosh, he was still the first option.
No, but I'm talking about right now, though. In this at this stage of his career, if AD were able to stay healthy, AD would have to be the first option, because there were times where LeBron was just like deferring to him. Yep. Right? He did somewhat take a back seat for a little second, but then I was like, no, I got to be the number one. So, and he's doing it out of necessity, right? But if you put LeBron on, let's say put him on the Clippers, put him on the Celtics, put him on the Heat,
the Nets,
he's not the number one option at all.
But it's not. And this is going to sound weird because I think these are two very different things, but they come off as the same thing. Mm-hmm. I think he still will be that primary. We got 2 minutes left and we need someone to do something. I think no matter what, he's that guy.
But that's
on any team he's on. That's because that's who he wants to be.
Well, that's also because he's able to do other things in his game. Like Westbrook is not able to do what LeBron does, right?
Nobody is,
yeah, but I'm saying like Yeah, no one
at
is.
this stage of his career. Yeah,
But you're
100%.
talking about someone that you're looking at not the number one option anymore. If LeBron is on your team, yeah, second or third option, and he's able to close a game, oh, for sure you would want that. Carmelo did that a little bit in Portland, right? Like
Yep,
he was able to kind of like finish out some games, but they weren't leaning on him to do it.
exactly.
You
It
know,
wasn't a need
it wasn't a need. Um, so that's what I think. I think it's interesting, but both these guys are looking at that point in their careers right now.
for sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Where they're
And
both pointing at each other to do
yeah, almost like a
what they
Spider-Man
need to
meme.
do. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
funny though, because for all the shit we talk about the Lakers, I feel like we really do find a way to talk about them every week. And I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
important
yeah,
that we
yeah.
recognize that because I think, regardless of where he's going to be, LeBron is such a polarizing figure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've been having the regression talks about LeBron going back like 6 years now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's just a wild landscape. Interesting to see how all this plays out. But I'm just so glad that the Lakers are shit. It just means something to me. I just
As
want
a
to make
Celtics
that clear.
fan, I'm loving this. As a basketball fan, I want to see the Lakers
I
in
disagree with that.
prominence.
I want to see teams that do it the right way get
Well, yeah,
rewarded
me
for it.
too, me too. But I'm saying historically, because I want to see the Celtics Lakers in the finals again. I've been wanting to see that for 12 years. Okay, like I'm sorry, 11, because 12 years ago we did see it, but I want to see it again. Historically, I want to see that battle happen, and
Good luck.
it looked like it was close to happening. That's not happening. The Lakers are just they're done. They're done. And as a Celtics fan, we're going to get another championship. We're going to get another championship before the Lakers even decide to start competing again.
There's a lot of people that want to clip you saying that right now. I'm just saying.
That's fine with me. I got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I mean, why should I not be confident about that?
I mean, I don't think, respectfully, I don't think you got any reason to think y'all are a season or two away from winning a title.
I think
Respectfully,
I think the window is. I think we're like the window just started to open.
it's coming, but it's not here yet. It's not here
I
yet.
think they've approached where the window is starting to open.
I'm interested to see. At 24 years old,
I
he's
didn't
doing
say it was fully
extreme.
open.
No, I know. Listen. I said he's doing extremely well. But when it comes to the next couple of years, I think the biggest thing to take note of is not those two guys. It's everything around them and how they're able to make that work. So I'm really interested to
Exactly.
see what happens in Beantown. But
Yeah.
let's move on because we'll
Yes,
be here
sir.
all night with this.
Yes, sir.
We will be here all night with this.
Yes, sir.
So MMA talk, baby. We had a big event this past weekend. And I just want to say I went 4-1 on my picks. I went 4-1 and I made some
I know
money.
I was bad, man.
I made some good money. I could have made more. I fucked up.
Where?
Dude, I fucked up. I could have made even more money. So this is where I messed up. I made big I hit big on some parlays. So I made a couple parlays. RDA, Kobe,
Mm-hmm.
Colby, Spivak. Those are
Mm-hmm.
two separate parlays.
Mm-hmm.
Hit beautifully for me.
Yeah.
Now, where I fucked up was I put the Cowboy Oliveira underdog shot in that one of those parlays. So I messed up on that.
Okay. Okay.
And then the second way I messed up, and this was the key right here. So once the Oliveira play went out, uh, I took a little hit, So I'm looking at my betting slip. I'm like, you know what? You know what would really put it over the top? Because I started getting nervous. I started thinking about what you were telling me.
Oh no.
And all of my parlays required Colby to win.
Okay.
So right before the main event, I pulled the good old, why don't I just hedge?
Oh no.
Why don't I just hedge? And I fucked up my whole night. So I ended up putting I think it was like $20 on whoever wins, which was a good bet. Mm-hmm. Whoever wins, Colby or Masvidal, to win by KO or by submission. And that obviously didn't play out. There was a couple moments in the fight where I was flipping out. But let's talk about this main event from your perspective. What do you have to say about this one?
So I knew Masvidal was going to lose when I saw Drake bet on him.
Oh man, the
I
fucking Drake
I
curse.
saw that like it was like a couple of hours before the fight. I was like, yeah, that's over. There's no way that he's gonna win now. Um, but there was a point in the third round, I think, third or fourth round, where he caught Colby with a nice right and
A perfect right hook.
dropped him and and didn't pounce. I was so confused by that because he could have won the fight in that moment. Forget everything else that happened prior to that. That was your moment to win, and that was where I was so puzzled because why would you pull up?
Exactly.
Why would you pull up? All you had to do was just jump and get it, and he had it.
Kobe never hit the ground though. Like
He
let me
did.
make that clear.
Yes, yes,
He
yes,
never hit the
yes,
ground. Like
yes.
he did that
He
heroin
went.
addict in New York City shit where he hit the ground, but he never touched it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
He
yeah.
popped right back up. So yeah,
Yeah, but
it was a tough spot
he was still like wobbly. That was his moment, and he
for
just
sure.
let him get.
Cover.
I don't get that. I don't get that. Colby dominated that fight though, man. He dominated that.
Mhm.
Outside of that one shot, he dominated that fight, and it was very intriguing. He has a great gas tank, but I'm puzzled by Masvidal, man. I don't get that because if you've trained against this guy for so long, you should know wrestling is the element you need to hone in on and
I agree with you on that. And let me make something clear. I think since day one, Masvidal had issues with grapplers.
mm-hmm,
But where I think we really saw the change and the shift in these past couple of years,
mm,
I think he's getting old right
you
in
can see
front of
it.
us.
You can see it.
And I
Yeah.
think the biggest part about it that we see is it's not just like it's not like he just decides I want to wrestle with Kobe because that you
Mm-hmm.
could tell that's not what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of he couldn't get himself like there wasn't enough urgency to get himself out of those positions
Mm-hmm.
before they became an issue.
Yeah.
And when you're a beat slow on that,
Yeah.
you're working from behind when they're already in a dominant position, you're
Yeah.
fucked. And
Yeah.
that's more tiring, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
of course, in my opinion, it's more tiring to do that and to try to work from behind than it is
Mm-hmm.
to get out of the way and do everything you have to get
Mm-hmm.
out of the way and then have a second to breathe than
Yeah.
it is than to just allow these things to pile on. I think the key though about why, because you're asking, why he didn't jump on it. I really feel like he knew at that point in the fight that if he rushed in and got reactive takedown in that moment, that the fight was over. Like
Mm-hmm.
he knew that. So he tried to keep him at distance instead of closing the distance, which is something that we saw Nate Diaz do against Leon Edwards as well.
Yeah.
Very similar
Yeah.
situations
Yeah.
where
But
they
throw
were being
kicks.
dominated.
You
That's
throw
true.
kicks in that
But
moment.
those kicks get caught.
I
Like
know, I know. But
it's a
when you
lot.
have your opponent dazed though, is because I
I
agree.
feel you.
There was a lag time with him between the brain and the activity, and that's what you. I agree. I saw the exact same thing you saw. I think probably like around round two.
After round two. Yep. After round two.
Round two, it was when it was like, oh, he's slow. He's just slow, and but that's why I was confused by him not going
Going for it.
because when you have your opponent dazed, oh, cool, head kick, a couple strikes, like activity. He just stood there. He didn't do anything, and that's what was
Mhm.
confusing to me. I think one thing that wasn't discussed, even with the broadcast, round one, the eye poke. I think the eye poke got him, and like if that was at least called, uh he would have had time to recover because he started arguing with the ref for not calling that. And
As he's being
Colby
pressed. Yeah.
and Colby's pressing. Like, why? Like, I get it, but find another time to argue the eye poke. Don't argue the eye poke when you're getting attacked. Though, so that there's the couple of things that he did in that fight that was just so puzzling that didn't make any sense to me. But I think when we saw the Usman knockout, to me that was when it was like it was apparent that he was getting older, but it this is glaring that he's older.
Because I feel like a couple years ago, this matchup is one. Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no way this matchup
yeah,
ends up the way it goes real quick.
yeah.
So thank you for mentioning this because completely forgot that I wanted to talk to you about this,
Mm,
but I firmly agree with this. So there's a podcast that I listen to called the Co-Main Event
mm,
podcast, and one of the things that they literally coined on their own is they say Dundasso is the fighting the complete MMA fighting art, and what that
mm-hmm,
means
mm-hmm.
is the act of cheating.
Yes,
and
yes, yes,
and what
yes.
I find fascinating about their sort of discourse about this is like they always say this, and every time now when I'm watching fights, it's at the forefront of my mind, and it's fucking true. No
Mm,
matter what, it's okay to foul in MMA. You're
yes,
gonna get a warning,
yeah,
but it doesn't matter because you could just choose another foul.
yeah,
And if you foul in another way,
yeah.
you'll just get another warning.
Because he got the low
Now,
blow, I think, in round 2 or 3.
exactly. So you
Yeah,
kick him in the dick one round,
yeah,
you get an eye poke in another round, you
yeah,
grab the fence in another round, and
yeah,
somehow you don't get a point taken away.
yeah,
That shit needs to change.
yeah,
Like they need to
yeah.
have because they already say to the fighters, your
Mm-hmm.
warning's in the back. This is something
Yes,
they already tell them, and
yes,
yet it's a hard warning. What the
yeah.
fuck is the difference between a hard warning and a soft warning?
I don't
Is
know.
if the next time they do a foul, nothing happens.
So it's three
Like
strikes, and the problem with that is they're like you're saying they're not piled up. It's all individual. Any other sport, it doesn't matter if you foul, in NBA, right? It doesn't matter if it's uh, a technical foul. Doesn't matter if it's a personal foul, team foul.
there's
They
a
pile up.
penalty in
They
place.
pile up.
Yep.
They pile up. I agree with you on that. MMA needs to catch up with that for sure because when
as
you're
soon as you
able to
get
do that,
one as soon as you get one warning, that's it. If you do
yeah,
another foul, you
yeah,
already know what's expected of you.
yeah,
I've seen fights where dudes have gotten kicked in the balls 3 times and
yes,
not had a point taken away. Like, what are
yes,
we doing here?
yeah,
What's the point of having rules if and we talk about this a couple times on the show,
mm-hmm,
if they're not going to be enforced?
mm-hmm.
They're not a rule then. And
But
that's clear in MMA culture nowadays.
yeah,
There's no such thing as, you're not supposed to do this. If anything, you're a better fighter if you do it
oh
because you
yeah, kudos
know
to the
your
fighter.
limitation.
Yeah, yeah, kudos to the fighter for being able to do it for sure. I don't like Kobe Covington at all, but for him to be able to take advantage of that, that's strategic. That's just how you want to win a fight, right?
And I found it so funny because he was the guy making so many complaints about Usman after their
Mm-hmm,
first fight, and
mm-hmm,
now and you're on the
mm-hmm,
forefront of cheating,
mm-hmm.
which is hilarious. Um, what more to say is about that matchup? Like, I really hope that for now until the end of time, that Masvidal never fights a wrestler again. Like,
Yeah,
I firmly believe that. Give him
yeah,
strikers only. I don't want to
yeah,
see him fight anyone that remotely wrestles.
yeah,
Like, that part of his career is over.
yeah. We're done with that. We're done with that.
Yeah.
And I hate that this fight got fight of the night because
Mm.
it that distracted from the co-main event so much.
Mhm,
The co-main event was to me because I didn't get to catch the prelims,
mhm,
but the fight of the night to me was the co-main event.
mhm. So we'll get into that right now. I personally thought the fight of the night was Yan Xiaonan versus Marina Rodriguez. That fight was a fucking banger. Yeah, I love some women's MMA.
Yeah.
Highest level of, in my opinion, that fight should have been on the main card because that's literally a number one contender bout. Like
Okay.
whoever,
Okay.
more than likely, Marina Rodriguez is going to be looking at a matchup with Rose soon. But
So I stand
as far
corrected.
as this co-main event, no. You're good. You're 100% good. I'm saying they got snubbed.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when it came to this co-main event, it was a fucking awesome fight. Let's
It
start there.
was. It was.
And the key to this is, and this is something we talked about in the lead up.
Mm-hmm.
I hated that this fight. So while we advocated for 5 round fights, I
Mm-hmm.
hated that this fight specifically was a 5 round fight
Yes.
because, first of all, Hanato took it on short notice. That's
Mhm.
the first reason why, regardless of what you had it planned as, it should be a 3-round fight now.
Yes, yes.
But two, and this was the biggest one, for the most part, if both guys are healthy,
Mm-hmm.
we saw how this fight was gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think even on a regular camp, I think RDA dominates the way he did.
Oh, for sure.
Um, but I have a question for you, and I sincerely wonder how you feel about this. Do you think that RDA sort of took his foot off the gas in that fifth round
He did
because of what was happening in that fight?
wholeheartedly because that fight should have been stopped in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fourth round at most. Like that should not have
Yep,
gone past the fourth round at all. They should
I agree.
the corner should have thrown the towel. The ref should have stopped the fight. The doctor should have stopped the fight. There was no way you could look at that man and think Moicano was going to be able to actually continue that fight. He did. He did. To his testament.
And did damn
But
well.
you're not amazing, but you're not protecting the fighter at that point. Like I don't know where we're towing the line where we're saying we want to protect fighters, but we're going to allow the fighter to continue fighting when they clearly cannot win. They clearly cannot. There's no way they. There's no way. There's no way. That made no sense. That third round, third to fourth round, in between no like that I would have stopped it. There was a point where RDA was just pummeling him, and I don't know how that fight was not stopped.
Dude, I just want to say three things because this I'm gonna get on a rant here, so bear with me.
Go ahead.
The first one is RDA is a historically great fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me make that clear
Mm-hmm.
because Renato Moicano is damn good,
Yes.
and a lot of people are gonna forget about that because of this performance.
Yes.
RDA is really a Hall of Famer. Like, this is a guy
Mm-hmm.
that was a champion at that weight class,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw when he landed that head kick. I thought the fight was over then. Crazy level of sort of
Yes.
activity and output for a guy that
Yes.
was also wrestling, also
Yes.
having dominant control, that he put
Yes.
himself in the top 10 of control time in UFC history.
Yeah.
That's a huge mark, by the way.
Yeah.
But
I think it was like 60 takedowns too.
yeah,
In his
so
career.
exactly. And it's crazy,
Yeah.
crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Historic level of fighter. But what this is the second key, and this is really important to talk about. I think the problem with MMA is the reason why it's always been different from boxing is the shock factor, the
Mm-hmm.
way that
Mm-hmm.
anything can happen, and we've seen many different instances. And I encourage everyone who is watching the show right now to watch these two fights: Pat Barry versus Czech Congo,
Mm-hmm. Oh
and
yes.
my personal favorite of these two. It's actually on my MMA archive logo. I don't know if you knew that. Um, Darren Elkins versus Mirsad Bektic. This was a fight where Darren Elkins, and that's the guy screaming on
Okay.
my logo.
Okay.
Darren Elkins was being absolutely mauled for 2 rounds
Mm-hmm.
on the ground, being taken down, elbowed. He had 3 different cuts on his face,
Mm-hmm.
just being absolutely destroyed. And then in the third round, his team obviously willing him to do his best out there, eventually finds a way to turn it around and knocks him out
Mm-hmm.
in a way that if you were watching the second round, you're like, stop the fight. This is over. Like, there's no way he can win this. And
Mm-hmm.
that's exactly what happened. And I almost hate the fact that Renato Moicano had success in the fifth, because everyone that wants these things to happen are going to point to that and say, but
Mm-hmm.
if they would have stopped it, he wouldn't have been able to have that success. Well,
Yeah.
that's because first of all, how can you beat someone's ass for 20 minutes and not get tired doing it? Like,
Yeah.
everyone's saying like he was being some sort of humanitarian. I thought the opposite. I thought he was conserving his gas tank,
Mm-hmm.
because after
Mm-hmm.
20 minutes of dominating someone like that, you
Mm-hmm.
got it. Like, that was a lot of output.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
key problem here is, no matter what the culture of MMA is, and I don't know what changes it, but the culture is, these guys have every chance to make something happen in any second. And
Right.
that's why they're like so hesitant to ever take accountability.
Mm-hmm.
This shit was criminal. And this is my
Yeah.
third part of the rant right here. Like, I said this on Twitter when we talked about this and we linked up talking about this fucking fight. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, for a guy that showed a medal that not many people have,
Mm-hmm.
that there's a lot of people in the UFC that you've seen quit that you've
Mm-hmm.
seen give up on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That was not Renato Moicano. I'm
Right.
not
Right.
discrediting Moicano for getting beat. I'm
Yeah.
not saying he's less of a man. If anything, he showed who the fuck he is,
Oh
and
yeah.
his willingness to stay in the fight after
Yeah.
everything he endured is supernatural. But
Mm-hmm.
what fucking bothers me is everyone around him that failed him.
Yeah.
His corner,
Yeah.
first of all, and I almost don't fully blame the corner, and this is why. They know this guy in a way that nobody else will
Yes.
ever know him. They've
Yes.
seen him deal with, I'm sure, much more in the training room.
Yes.
So what freaks me out about this is, okay, if we can't trust a fighter to say when they're not when they can't see, to
Mm-hmm.
say when they can't, these are all the things we laud fighters for,
Mm-hmm.
that we applaud them for.
Mm-hmm.
It's safe to assume that they're going to do that, right? Now, we can't count on the corner for those same reasons. They're going to give their guy the benefit of the doubt, right?
Right.
How the fuck can we not count on the commissioned doctor
Mm-hmm.
and the referee? Now, let me make this clear. This isn't a Mark Goddard issue. If
Not at
anything,
all.
Mark Goddard did his job.
He did.
It's a rules issue,
Yeah.
because in the rules, the criteria is not if someone has sustained a level of damage, it's if they can see.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's asked of someone.
Yeah.
If they can pass a vision test, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if their face is falling off. And that's
Yeah.
a problem.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
The next issue, I love, by the way, that they mic'd up the fucking octagon, because they usually don't. They don't let
Right.
us
Right.
in those conversations.
Yeah. Yeah.
They let us in this time, and we
Mm-hmm.
got to hear in
Mm-hmm.
between the fourth and the fifth, the
Mm-hmm.
doctor look at Mark Goddard and tell him, and this shit made me fucking sick. He
Mm-hmm.
looked at him and he said, "I don't care what you do."
Yeah.
What the fuck? Isn't
Yeah.
it isn't it against your profession to be indifferent about these things?
That should have
How
made
can you,
him lose his license right there.
regardless of you saying, because I get what he was trying to say. He was saying, either way it goes, I can understand it. Like, if you stop it, I understand it. But just a no nonsense answer on a
Yeah.
situation when you're the one counted on there to actually be the one
Mm-hmm.
that is gonna take into account these
Mm-hmm.
people's healths, for
Mm-hmm.
you to say, I don't care what you do,
Mm-hmm.
criminal. Like, that's criminal shit right there. He
Yeah.
should not be in any future fights. And this is someone that's been around for a long time. This is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
someone who they look to for these spots. So it's
Yeah.
hard to admit that.
Yeah.
But for you to say to a ref, I don't care what you do, as a doctor, you already fucking failed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because regardless of whether or not he can follow your finger with his eye,
Mm-hmm.
you should have stopped that fight.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's ready to fight, if his corner's telling you he's ready to fight, if Mark Goddard says you got 30 seconds to turn this around, and he fucking answered the bell and he
Oh,
did
he
that.
did. He
I
did.
don't care,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the outcome does not matter. Do you
Yeah.
think because he had a good fifth round that he didn't have a fucking headache the next morning? Do you think
Oh,
that all that damage gets canceled out because
no.
he had that fifth round? Hell no.
Mm-mm. No. It's gonna be interesting to see what the long term effects are, because honestly, I think we're gonna start seeing. We've already started seeing some fighters deal with issues, like BJ Penn, for example.
Chuck
Um,
Liddell, Gary
Chuck Liddell.
Goodridge, a whole
Yeah,
bunch of guys.
we've
Yeah.
seen guys start to take show signs of long term damage. Um, it's gonna take one of these guys. It's gonna take. I think it's gonna take for a couple of these guys to actually go the route of some of the guys in the NFL, where they've had, you know, unfortunate demise um take place, and that's what made the NFL look into the rule changes. I think we're gonna have to. It's gonna have to take something like that, where you sacrifice some legends to be like to then force your hand to change that, because yeah, there's no way. I don't even care if he actually won the fight.
Me neither.
You can't tell me that 25, 30 years down the line that's going to actually amount to anything.
Exactly. Because
Moicano gained my
everyone in
respect.
that spot.
Yeah, yeah, he gained my respect, like, off rip, right? But you're not protecting the fighter in any way, shape, or form when you allow them to still go out there. It's almost I thought about this though during the fight. There almost should be like an independent member of the corner on both sides, where it's like they overrule what the corner decides in terms of allowing the person to continue or not, because of the fact you can see this man has taken damage, or this woman has taken damage, when they clearly should not be in there anymore. The fight should be over. And it's almost as if there should be someone that is independent of both corners that's judging it from that angle, because nobody else is doing it. Clearly the doctor doesn't really care. The ref is bound by the rules, but even with that, I almost feel like Herb Dean is one of the guys. Like, this wasn't him in this fight, but he's one of those guys where it's just like, what are you doing?
You need to die for Herb to stop the fight.
I don't. So I don't know where we draw the line. I really don't. I love the sport. It's a beautiful sport. It's an art. But when you have guys in powers of position that are not protecting the fighters, mm-hmm. It's now negligent. Exactly. It's negligent, and they have to go and look at that and figure out what is going to be done. But again, I don't think that we're going to see that until we start seeing a domino effect of fighters meet an untimely demise.
And what's really interesting about it too is, like, I think that's a part of why we love the sport, because we understand how much is being asked of these men and women.
Yeah.
That's a big reason why the sport has grown the way it has, because we know that they're doing some shit. Like, don't get me wrong, on all sports, you're ignorant to say, oh, that could be me. But when you're watching baseball and you're seeing a dude hit a ball, you're like, damn, I wish I would have fucking put some time and done this shit. I would have been making a lot more coin than I'm making right now. Yeah. But when you're I think there's a big element to MMA and boxing, even, where you're watching these fights and you're like, there's something there that you don't recognize in yourself, that you have to respect. Like you said, you have to respect, because I know when given that extra 2 minutes where I'm looking at the fucking treadmill timer and I'm like, I got 10 minutes left, I know I'm hitting 8 minutes and I'm walking. So let alone imagine someone coming to beat my ass for another 2 minutes. You're asking for a lot. But what makes me sick, and like you said, it's not about I want to change the way the sport is conducted, or I don't want people to get hurt. If you don't want people to get hurt, you're watching the wrong fucking sport. And I've came to grips with that a long time ago. But what isn't fair to me is when you have the mechanisms in place that are supposed to prevent these things from happening, failing you. That's how people die. Like, let's make that fucking clear. The corner, they're going to be expected to move the way they move, because fighters like Anthony Smith has said it publicly. If they would have stopped the fight, I would have never trained there again. I would have never came back there again.
Right.
There's a lot on the corner. I'm not blaming the corner. It's on the athletic commission. It's on the referee to a certain extent. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, because it's written in the rules the way it is, Mark Goddard gave him every chance possible. And I've heard him talk about this before. Yeah. He was talking about and breaking down his Kamaru Usman versus, why did I say Kamaru Usman? Israel Adesanya versus Kelvin Gastelum fight. And he was explaining why he didn't stop it in the fifth, because it easily could have been stopped. But he was saying, he was communicating with Kelvin and telling him, you need to get out of these positions. And regardless of whether or not he was still eating shots, he was moving to get out of those positions. Yeah. You could argue the same thing with Moicano. Especially after he got that warning. There was never a time where Moicano covered up and was just eating shots. You know what I mean?
He's still mobile. At the same time, he's still alert.
At a certain point, it shouldn't matter. At a certain point, you should be able to call that. Because if they, like you said, if they would have called it after the third, at the end of the day, people would have been like, there would have been a collective groan. But right after that, everyone would have been clapping for both of those guys.
Yes.
So I just had a horrible taste in my mouth after seeing that fight and the way everything played out. And of course, give Renato Moicano all the respect. Give him all the praises, because he deserves it.
He does.
But they fucking failed him on many different levels, and they need to really look at the way in which the corner is educated, the way in which the commission is educated, and the parameters of what the ref is allowed to do. Because
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, if the criteria is you are trying to not get your ass beat,
Yeah. Yeah.
isn't that what we all doing?
Yeah.
Like the fight's never gonna be fucking stopped. So yeah, something needs to change and fast because, like you said, this is gonna lead to some real tragic moments that we're trying to avoid.
Yeah. I completely agree. I completely agree. I think they needed to go ahead and do it, but you got Dana White leading the cavalry, so
The cavalry ain't coming, boy. That's
yeah,
all we
yeah.
gotta know. But if you watch those fights, I mean, I encourage you really look up that Pat Barry Cheick Congo fight
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
you you
I
see
remember
the
that one.
highlights from that shit and it
Yeah.
don't make sense. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's over. It's over.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
not over.
Yeah. Yeah.
To a certain extent,
I
those
wasn't
guys
expect
shouldn't have been given that opportunity either.
they shouldn't, but I understood that more because
Yes.
that's in a time where we weren't considering that, right? As a society, that was not being considered back then. That's the same with the NFL. We were seeing all these guys lead with the helmet and all that stuff. That wasn't. It's just those are action shots. That's how we saw it, right? But the more you learn and grow and understand what took place with Barry Congo should not have taken place with Moicano and RDA. That should not have taken place at all.
100%.
That's my point.
Oh man, I hope he got some sort of bonus under the table that he doesn't have to fight for another year and a half and
He
he could just
shouldn't.
go on a vacation because that was fucking that's a career's worth of damage in my
I'm gonna tell you
opinion.
right now. If I ever got beat like that, I'm retired. I'm not. I'm not taking that beating. If I
Mhm.
can't fight where I'm taking a little damage, like Mayweather, I'm not fighting.
It's not worth it. And that was
It's
something
not.
I wanted to say earlier to you. All of these guys, when they're in that spot where they're now on the outside looking in, like Gary Goodridge, like
Mm-hmm.
those people that have had
Mm-hmm.
clear issues, they all say that they regret it. They
Yeah.
all say that this was not worth it.
Yeah.
And I think those precautionary tales should be told a lot more in these gyms
Yeah.
and it should be a part of the culture because
Yeah.
at the end of the day the only culture that exists now is if you have a chance we're going to let you do whatever you got to do because I'm respecting your honor by doing that. And let's be real, the only thing you're doing is sacrificing these people's livelihoods on the altar of athletic success. And
Yeah.
that ultimately that's what a lot of these guys at the high end are doing regardless, but there's a limit and there
Because
should be a
you're
limit.
also sparring. So I think that's another thing that doesn't get taken into account with a lot of these conversations. Sparring, you take a lot of a lot of beating in sparring. So you're talking about that on top of competition, on top of how many times you're fighting a year. That's why I've respected Adesanya because he's taken damage, but he's not taking significant damage, right? He It's the length. He's able to keep guys at a distance. He's able to hit precise. He's able to move. Like if you can't fight that way, you should for your health because you're not talking about being able to get paid on the scale of a boxer. You're not talking about being able to get paid on the scale of an NBA player or a basketball NFL player. You're talking about being paid what, almost like a G League player. What I'm not risking anything for that. I'm not doing that. Now, if I'm playing basketball, that's one thing. But you talking about getting beat up like that? Nah, bro. Not for that money. Not for that money.
And real shit, and I will move on after this. I sincerely believe that that's a barrier to entry to the sport. That
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
a lot of people like the level of athlete that we're gonna see in the sport over time is gonna change
Yes.
because now we're seeing don't get me wrong, amazing athletes coming into MMA,
Yes.
but it's still nowhere near where it should be, considering the fact that it's considered among the top four, top five sports right now.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's almost the bottom of the barrel as far as what we've been able to get so far.
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many problems in MMA, but these two are on the forefront, in my opinion.
Most
You need to
definitely.
get these fighters paid, and you need to really consider what the fuck we're doing here. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, everyone always says, "Oh yeah, we're about fighter safety. We have the safest organization around." All this shit, and I bought into it. I've written papers about how the damage in MMA is more negligible than it is in boxing. Do I
Mm-hmm.
believe that now? Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah.
And it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up, because before you know it, we're gonna be looking at all these legends that can't fucking walk, that can't fucking talk, that can't eat by themselves because of what they sacrificed in the ring right in front
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah. Because think
And
about it.
that's real.
Boxing to MMA, you get hit in MMA, you get hit with fists, elbows, knees, legs,
Shoulders,
shoulders.
everything.
You get hit with everything. So it's not just the gloves;
Yeah, man.
it's everything else. So
Dude,
more opportunity.
there's people in this sport that could have been champions that never even made their way to contendership bouts because of concussion issues outside of fighting. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, in sparring,
Mm-hmm.
a couple to name: TJ Grant, uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Chris Holdsworth,
Yeah.
who used to train out with Uriah Faber and them. These are
Mm-hmm.
guys that had championship potential that stopped fighting because of the effects of brain damage.
Yeah.
So once again, please educate whoever you can, fix the problem before it is even a bigger problem, because
Yes.
the culture is already ingrained. It's already thought of
Mm-hmm.
as lesser. If Renato would have said, "I quit," hell, there was someone in the UFC that was making his debut on short notice that told the corner, "I'm done." And then Dana White's like, "I'm never having that guy in the UFC again. I don't care how good he is. We're not bringing that guy back."
Yeah. This is
If
about the bottom line.
anyone knows when the
About the
fuck
bottom
it's
line.
time, it's the
Yeah.
fighter, right?
Yeah.
If anyone knows,
Yeah.
because you're asking them to be irrational.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're rationally saying, "Nah, I'm good,"
Mm-hmm.
stop the fucking fight and it's over. Of course, that's not what Renato Moicano did. But at that point, we need the people that are put in place to make those decisions to be able to have the balls to make those decisions.
Yeah.
If not, why the fuck are you there?
Yep.
Let's make that clear. All right. That was a lot.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
I'm gonna just quickly wrap up by saying, fuck Greg Hardy. We can move on from that. The most impressive performance of the night, and I hope you got to see it. Edson Barboza versus Bryce Mitchell.
Yes, I did. Yes, yes,
Dude,
yes, 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 yes.
if there's one thing I'm gonna highlight that the commentators didn't say too much about, fucking head control.
Yes.
Bryce Mitchell has 3 arms out there,
Yes.
and one of them is pinned up against your chin,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah,
cannot
yeah,
move.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I am really impressed by Bryce Mitchell because
Yeah.
he did it in a way that no one else has been able to do it.
Yeah.
Khabib got spinning wheel kicked
Yeah.
during that fight. Everyone
Yeah,
acts
yeah.
like it didn't happen because it's
Yeah.
so far removed.
Yeah.
Everyone that's been in there with Barboza has gotten hit at some point.
Mm.
Not really Bryce Mitchell.
Yeah.
His reactive takedowns were on another level. His pressure, he dropped Barboza with a fucking punch.
Mm-hmm.
That guy is the total package, and I told you so much about how I
I
hate
know.
him as a
I know.
person,
I know.
but hearing his post fight speech, I think there's a lot of room for growth there.
There
All I
is.
gotta say
There
is, just a commendable person with what he decided to give a platform for in that moment, because I didn't expect that of him at all.
Mm-hmm.
I expected much worse.
Mm-hmm.
And then beyond that, just the talent. Like, you need to respect that.
Yes.
Because there's going to be a lot of guys at 145 that are going to say, "Who's this unassuming farm boy?
Mm-hmm.
He ain't got shit for me."
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to get smothered and dominated the same way Barboza did that night.
Yeah. Excellent performance.
Crazy.
Excuse me.
Better than Khabib. Better than
yeah,
Khabib.
Yeah.
That was
excellent performance.
Next level.
Nothing else to say about that. Excellent performance. I mean, I didn't expect, looking at him, you don't expect that output, but
yeah, man.
I'll be watching him.
Now, next up, before I quickly go on a 3-second rant about this week's card, and then we get out of here.
Yes, sir.
My what the fuck of the week, and I'd love to hear yours. But my what the fuck of the week revolves around a conversation we had last week with Islam Makhachev and Dana White. Now, it was my what the fuck last week.
Yes.
Guess what? Shit ain't changing. This is my what the fuck again. And this is why. Dana White is ignorant as fuck.
Oh yeah,
You know,
yeah,
his reaction that I mentioned last week was, "Oh, now you have to fight Beneil," and
yeah.
I found out the truth. And this is more important to the discussion we had earlier too. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't because Islam said, "Nah, actually, on the sneak, I don't really want to do that."
Mm-hmm.
You know what it was? Islam asked for $1 million to do it, and that's what made Dana
Get
White
the
come out and say all those things.
Yo, Dana
Bro, that's
White,
not even a lot of money.
that's
Like,
not that's not compared to what you're bringing in. That's definitely not a lot of money. Dana White is on a whole nother level of
bro,
stupidity. I don't get that. A million? That's all he was asking for?
so frugal. and
Dude,
and really I think
that's
he's
cheap.
scared,
That's
dude.
cheap.
Cheap as hell. And I think he's really scared of the writing that's on the wall, which is everyone now sees
Mm-hmm.
what the fuck are we doing here, because these guys are profiting off of the backs of what we do.
Yeah.
Imagine how Moicano feels right now.
Yeah.
Regardless of how much of a check they cut him underneath the table, it's still not enough
No.
for what these guys are being asked to do, and gals, I might add.
Mm-hmm.
um Despicable shit from Dana White. Fuck Dana White to the day I die. And that's the only thing Jake Paul and I agree on.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll agree with that one. Ooh, I don't even know if I have one this week. Well, just came in. The Seattle Seahawks just released Bobby Wagner. So wow. Um
What?
they just released Bobby Wagner. So I guess that's one. Saves him
OG.
$16.6 million in cap space, but I don't know if that really makes sense. So that leads back to what we were talking about before about if how they're going to be able to approach this season coming up. Um, I don't know how they're going to approach it.
It looks like they
So
bottoming out
they're
now.
bottoming out. So I
Yeah.
think I think you're going to go ahead and move Metcalf and or Lockett.
You keep one of them, right?
You keep
You
one of
have
them.
to keep
You
one of
keep
them
one of them, but one of them are gone. One of
for
them is
sure.
definitely gone. So that's going to be mine for the week.
Seahawks, get your shit together, boys.
Yeah.
And now I'm quickly gonna go on a extreme rant. This Saturday we got some pretty good, sneaky good fights, of course, because they kept the names for the last card. But Alex Pereira versus Bruno Silva. This is a fight that has me excited for two reasons. One, I think Bruno Silva is actually pretty good, the guy that he's fighting. Two, Alex Pereira is the only man to have multiple wins over Israel Adesanya in kickboxing, who
Yes.
actually knocked out Adesanya in kickboxing. They're in the same division, and he made his debut at a big marquee card and ended up getting a nice flying knee knockout. This is actual competition, and I don't think he wins. I think Bruno Silva's going to win, and I think everyone's going to be surprised. So that's going to be one of my bigger bets this week.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be interested to see who tails me on that one, because it's not just striking. And although in the striking
Yeah.
matchup, obviously Alex Pereira has an advantage, I think Bruno Silva could definitely run away with this one.
Yeah.
So really pay attention to that one though, because
Yeah.
if Pereira looks good and we could see him stop a few takedowns, the lore starts to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think we'll see a Adesanya fight faster than we think is deserved. Next up, this one I needed to tell you about because I can't believe that it's happening. Drew Dober, which is someone who has been right on the cusp of that top 15 at lightweight for a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
ended up coming short against guys like Islam Makhachev and sorry about that.
Okay.
What is his name? I did it again, damn it. Um, he has come short against the division's greatest. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
And he originally was supposed to be facing someone else, but of course, with the COVID nature of things, someone had to pull out,
Mm-hmm.
and up steps Terrence McKinney. I can't believe that he's getting this spot, and it really makes sense that they called him, because I think this is not only a winnable matchup, but a favorable matchup against someone who everyone thinks is a striker
Mm-hmm.
and actually has grappling chops, while Drew Dober is known for actually being purely a striker. I really think that if if you trying to make some serious coin this week,
Yeah, yeah,
put your
yeah.
money on Terrence McKinney because I'm all in, and I really don't doubt that he finds his way into the top 15 after this Saturday. And then the final fight of the night, Thiago Santos coming up against Magomed Ankalaev.
Yes.
First of all, I need to add this because this is an insane stat that I couldn't believe when I saw it.
Hmm.
Men named Magomed have a 28-3 record in the UFC. What the fuck? There's
What?
something in that water in Russia, bro. If your name is Magomed, you have only lost. That is insane. Like
that's
that's an
that's that's
insane,
incredible. That's
crazy.
incredible. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's multiple people. That's not
Yeah,
just not
yeah.
just one.
That's
Um,
fascinating.
this guy Magomed Ankalaev has the total package, despite the fact that he looks just like Mose from The Office. He is a fucking problem on the feet in the grappling aspects. Everyone loves Thiago Santos. I'm a huge fan.
Love him.
I still to this day will argue with anybody that he beat John Jones without 2 of his MCLs. Shout out to
Yeah,
Thiago Santos.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was a fight he won, and he deserved to be champ on that night.
He did.
But he is gonna get absolutely destroyed. Do you know right now Magomed Ankalaev is a minus 500 favorite? That's insane. That shows the level against someone like Thiago Santos. That's crazy.
Yeah, Santos is just coming back too, like within the last year, right? Year and a
Yep.
half.
His
Yeah,
last fight was that it was pretty boring against
it
Johnny
was.
Walker.
It was boring. Yeah. Damn. Okay, I'm ready to see it. I'm ready to see it.
Telling you,
I'm ready to see it.
I love
I
Thiago
love
Santos.
God,
He
man.
about to get cooked. Like we need that Adrian Broner meme right now. I'm out here getting cooked because that's how it's gonna be. But take us home, Derrick.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you can follow me at Derrick _ OTS. That's DERRICK. Black way to spell it. But as you see, follow the brand at OTS Media Co. All social media platforms. Check us out, otsmediaco.com. Check out all the articles. We have a couple of shows that are coming back. Fans is coming back this spring, and it's revamped. It's new. I most likely gonna go ahead and record a video and explain all the rules to you guys pretty soon. But that's coming back where you'll be able to battle with not only music but sports highlights. And we will explain that to you guys very soon. So please be on the lookout for that. That's coming back with a veracity that
I don't think
ferociousness
they're
that
ready for.
they're not ready for it. They're not ready for it. But yeah, just keep an eye out on everything. Let us know what you guys think. Rate and review the show, please. That's how we're gonna be able to start charting and taking our rightful place at number one. So please just do that for us, guys, and let us know what you guys think.
Yeah, man. So, like he said, there's something he's not gonna say that I'm gonna say for him. Look at the fucking promo clips that OTS have been putting out for all these shows. My guy has been putting in so much work. I just really want to applaud you. Shout out to Derrick. This dude puts this fucking thing on his back and does amazing things on the fucking daily. Like I can't believe the quality that's coming out right now, OTS. So please show him the support. Like he said, he really fucking, like I said, he deserves it, regardless of whatever. Make sure you follow him as well. You can catch me at Chris Negron _ on Instagram, as well as Negron MMA on Twitter. We're 11 away from 250, baby. I know we're going to get there soon. Look,
yes, sir.
We're going to get there soon. I know it's going to come soon.
Yes,
MMA Archive coming back strong. On Friday, we're going to have another episode as well as another recap show. Yes. So you're getting 3 podcasts out of me a week now. I don't know. I might have to start. I don't know what I got to do. I'm going to have to start doing something. Because listen, I'm having a blast, though, and that's what matters. Having a time of my life, and I can't wait for you guys to check out what I got coming on Friday as well as next week. So thank you so much for your support and your love. We need more of it. Tell everyone. Tell your grandmother. I know she watches. Put on. It's time. We got to get out there to the same level that we put into this, because
especially
I swear,
especially if she bets.
Hey, and if she doesn't take her, sell her. Use the rest. You know what I'm saying? We got to figure it out. But thank you so much for all your support and your time. I really appreciate it.
Yes,
And
sir.
you already know we're going to keep bringing you these bangers, man.
Every
Have a
week.
good one, yeah.
Catch y'all later.
Peace.